Snatching red envelopes on the first day of the Lunar New Year, I accidentally sprained my ankle. I went to the hospital to register. The nurse took my registration form, glanced at it, and immediately sized me up with curiosity. I couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Here comes another one. Hello, may I ask where you're feeling unwell? I noticed something was off in the nurse's eyes, but I still answered honestly. I sprained my ankle. I missed a step coming down the stairs. After hearing that, he raised an eyebrow, with a look of someone who's seen it all before. There are a few people ahead of you. Please wait for your number to be called. I said thank you, took the slip, and turned to go to the waiting area. The male nurse's reaction was even stranger. He immediately took out his phone to complain to his buddies. Just as he put his phone away, the large screen displayed my number. Patient number 1, please prepare for consultation room 201. I quickly stood up and headed in the direction the male nurse pointed. The consultation room door was tightly closed. I couldn't see anything. I glanced twice, then averted my gaze, looking around. While I was spacing out, someone next to me suddenly started a conversation. A woman with her arm in a cast came closer. Young man, you also came specifically to see Dr. Gu. So determined, even during the new year, I was completely stunned. What? Dr. Gu Qinghan. The woman had a look of understanding on her face. Young men these days only like pretty girls. As she spoke, she used her uninjured hand to stroke her chin, muttering, actually, inner beauty like ours isn't so bad either. I listened in confusion and was about to explain. The consultation room door suddenly opened. A handsome guy with a crew cut quickly walked out with his head down. Young man, hurry up and go in. Don't be shy. The woman next to me was even more excited than I was. You can do it, I thought to myself. What's there to do for a foot examination? I pushed the door open and froze on the spot. The doctor inside was just too young and too beautiful. Wearing a white coat, she was simply a masterpiece. I turned to close the door just in time to see that woman wink at me. I felt a sudden pang of guilt and quickly shut the door tightly. Gu Qinghan picked up the new medical record, glanced up at me, then quickly looked down again. Her clear, cold voice rang out. Fang Yuan. I answered subconsciously. The tip of her pen paused for a moment, then she finished filling in the basic information. Gu Qinghan's gaze finally landed on me, sizing me up from head to toe, seemingly not finding any obvious symptoms. Her gaze made me unconsciously straighten my back while my mind was frantically complaining. How can there be a deputy director this young and beautiful? This is completely different from what I imagined. Gu Qinghan noticed I was spacing out. Her eyebrows furrowed slightly, and her voice became a few shades colder. Where are you unwell? I sprained my ankle, I said softly, adding, my right foot. I missed a step while using my phone on the stairs. Gu Qinghan remained expressionless, swiveling her chair to face me, her gaze locked onto my right foot. My whole body stiffened. It was clearly a normal procedure, but facing this star-like beautiful face, I really didn't want to take off my shoe. It felt too impolite, like it would dirty her eyes. I had just looked up when I read in her clear, dark eyes 4 big words. Refusal is not an option. After some internal struggle, I silently took off the snow boot on my right foot. A bright red sock with printed characters appeared, sparkling. The damned red socks. When I was leaving this afternoon, my mom insisted on giving them to me. I even complained at the time, but ended up wearing them anyway. Now I just want to find a hole to crawl into. Instantly, when Gu Qinghan saw the red socks, a flicker of something unusual crossed her face, but her gaze quickly returned to my swollen ankle. Take off the sock too, I answered with a look of utter despair. Well, might as well get it over with. I yanked the sock off. Gu Qinghan put on gloves and squatted in front of me, her left hand holding my calf, slowly lifting my foot. Her right hand held my toes, coordinating with her left hand to gently examine it. I felt completely unnatural, my lips pressed together, my eyes darting everywhere. Her right hand felt a bit cold through the glove. The sensation was too clear. Go get an x-ray first. Gu Qinghan examined it for a moment, gently put my foot down, then stood up, took off her gloves, and went straight to the sink to wash her hands. My eyes were glued to her, slender, fair hands, as if I were the one being scrubbed. The moment I thought about her washing her hands because she touched my foot, my cheeks immediately burned with embarrassment. Go to the radiology department next door for an anteroposterior and lateral x-ray to see if there's a fracture or dislocation. Gu Qinghan's voice was completely calm. Bring the film back to me when you're done. I silently took the medical record and payment slip, swallowing the words, just prescribe me some safflower oil, and went inside. After paying at the self-service machine and getting the x-ray done at the radiology department, I had to wait an hour for the results. I let out a sigh and flopped onto the sofa in the waiting area like a dried fish, my eyes staring blankly. My mind was filled with either my red socks or the image of Gu Qinghan, squatting down and holding my foot. A few seconds later, I snapped out of it, took out my phone and logged into the website where I publish my comics. I originally intended to read the comments, but it was all just a mob demanding new chapters. In high school, I was an art student. In college, I studied art history, but I loved drawing comics. After graduating, I went full-time, and it's been 6 or 7 years now. I've sold some copyrights, so I'm considered a somewhat well-known artist in the community. Just as I exited the website, a message from my chat app popped up. After seeing who it was, I sucked in a cold breath and carefully started to reply. A fish. Editor, Happy New Year. A fish. So diligent even during the new year, the website should give you an award for being a model employee. Messages from the other side immediately came flooding in like a bombing raid. Watermelon, I'm not happy. Why did you skip posting again today? You've only posted one chapter in 2 weeks. Watermelon, the website shouldn't give me an award. It should give you an award being the best at slacking off. I yelped and quickly typed a rebuttal. A fish. I'm really not slacking off this time. I sprained my ankle. I'm at the hospital. As I said that, I took a picture of my medical record and sent it over. The other person replied instantly, but showed no mercy whatsoever, delivering a direct ultimatum. Watermelon, you draw with your hands, not your feet. Watermelon, before 12 p.m. tomorrow, get the new chapter up quickly. I wanted to try and struggle for a few more days, but was brutally rejected by my dear editor. Seeing that there was truly no hope, I could only obediently agree. Luckily, I haven't been too lazy lately. The new chapter is only missing the ending. With a little effort, I can still finish it. In less than an hour, I received the still warm X-ray film. I stared at the black and white film, studying it for a long time. As expected, I didn't understand a thing. Fortunately, the diagnostic report stated that the ankle bone was fine. Back at the consultation room, the door was open, and there was no one else inside for the moment. I knocked gently, and a cold voice came from within. Standing at the door, I tensed up for a second, but quickly composed myself. The bones are fine. Could you please just prescribe me some anti-swelling medication? Gucci-hun said nothing. She just took the X-ray film and report to look at them. I'll prescribe you a bottle of anti-swelling spray. After confirming there were no issues, she prescribed it directly on the computer, her voice still just as cold. Apply ice at home for the next 48 hours, use the spray 3 times a day, and walk less. It should heal in 1 or 2 weeks. I nodded, but my mind was wandering. She really lives up to her ice beauty reputation. Taking the medical record and prescription, I quickly glanced at her nameplate and said softly, "Thank you, Dr. Gu." The reply I received was still as cold as ice. Paid, got the medicine, and got into the taxi I had booked. Only then did I completely relax, staring blankly out the window. The sky was getting dark, and the bright neon lights competed to illuminate the night. Under the roadside billboards, red lanterns were hanging, and small shops had window decorations and New Year couplets. The New Year atmosphere was thick. But even during this lively New Year, countless working people were still desperately toiling away. Like me, looking up at the tired-faced female driver, the devilishly persistent editor, myself who had to type despite being injured, and that overly beautiful and coldly distant doctor. As soon as I got home, I flopped onto the sofa and texted my parents that I had to rush a manuscript tonight and would be back tomorrow. I bought the apartment I'm living in half a year after graduation. I'm a local. I went to university in Jianan, and after graduating, I came home to work full-time. I always had conflicts with my parents. Later, I sold some copyrights, saved enough money, and decisively bought a house and moved out. Occasionally visiting home, we would become a loving family again. After resting for a while, I sprayed some medicine on my right foot and glanced at the time. I got up, took a bag of frozen dumplings from the fridge, and prepared to boil them. Just as the dumplings went into the pot, my phone vibrated. I opened it to see. It was a message from my best friend, Lu Guan. Lu Guan, are you home yet? How's your foot? I leisurely replied. I'm back. It's nothing serious. The doctor prescribed a bottle of anti-swelling spray. Then get some rest. Don't run around anymore. I suddenly remembered the embarrassing incident from this afternoon and couldn't resist texting again. I was so embarrassed today, and in front of a beauty, no less. Lu Guan, what happened? Hurry up and tell me so I can have a laugh. Look at that. This is my good brother. His happiness is built entirely on my pain. A moment later, Lu Guan sent a message. Lu Guan, bro, what's the deal? I'll analyze it for you, see if it's still salvageable. I typed indignantly. It's beyond saving. I've completely lost face. I just want to escape this planet right now. Then I told him the whole story of what happened in the afternoon. The other person immediately replied with a series of laughing, crying emojis. Lu Guan, ha 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 ha, it's fine, it's fine. You've definitely left a deep impression on that beautiful doctor. What kind of deep impression? My bright red socks with printed characters? The dumplings in the pot were just cooked. I took a picture and sent it over. I will turn my indignation into appetite. Finished the last part of the comic and posted the new chapter. I looked at the clock. My God, it was already 2 a.m. After washing up and spraying the medicine again, I finally fell asleep. And then I had a dream. In the dream, Lu Guan and I were hanging out and found that all the stores only sold red socks. I didn't wake up until it was fully light out, staring blankly at the ceiling. The indignation from the red socks in my dream came flooding back. I lazed in bed for a few minutes, then took out my phone to check. It was already 10:30. Remembering I had to go home for lunch, I finally gave up struggling and crawled out of bed to wash up. My apartment is right next to the university campus. Transportation is very convenient. I usually take the subway. But now that my foot still hasn't healed, I can only continue to take taxis. When I got home, I found my youngest uncle's family sitting on the sofa. After saying hello, my cousins followed me into my room as if on cue. Cousin, did you go to the hospital yesterday? My cousin Xiao Chisheng asked with concern. I put my right foot up on the sofa, sprained my ankle, went to the orthopedics department, got some medicine. Orthopedics department. Xiao Chusheng's voice immediately jumped 8 octaves. So did you see the flower of the orthopedics department? The flower of the orthopedics department? Gu Qinghan's face flashed in my mind, but I still played dumb. What flower? Xiao Chusheng said excitedly. Gu Qinghan from orthopedics, the famous flower on the high mountain of Provincial Hospital Number 2. He immediately started rambling on, briefing me on Gu Qinghan's glorious achievements. The youngest deputy director at Provincial Hospital Number 2, only 29, a PhD from Capital Medical University, and also an honorary professor at Jianan Medical College. Most importantly, her medical skills are superb, and she's beautiful, nicknamed the flower of the orthopedics department at Provincial Hospital Number 2, attracting countless fanboys who chase after her. But so far, no one has been able to pick this flower on the high mountain. If you didn't get to see Dr. Gu yesterday, it's such a loss. Xiao Chusheng looked regretful. The young male patients in the orthopedics department, 9 out of 10 of them, are there for her. Unfortunately, she's too cold, like a walking iceberg. Before I could even speak from the beanbag chair where she was playing a game, my cousin Heartless started to tease. You think he's as shallow as you? A walking iceberg, huh? I think you're more like a walking girl chaser. Sorry, I admit I'm also very shallow. Yesterday, when I pushed open the door and saw Gu Qinghan, I was completely stunned by her beauty. That look, that aura, she's totally a comic book heroine. I even had a few improper thoughts for a moment, though they were quickly extinguished by the embarrassing events that followed. I didn't register to see her. I blinked, lying without batting an eye. I'm not into the cold type like her. Seeing that I wasn't interested, Xiao Chusheng didn't say anything more, turning to bicker with Heartless, who had interrupted him. I lay sprawled on the sofa, my mind full of that ice beauty, and my heart screamed frantically, why did I wear those red socks yesterday? After lunch, I saw my youngest uncle's family off. My father, Fang Sheng, looked at me on the sofa and casually dropped a line. Tonight, we're going to your eldest aunt's house for New Year greetings. I shot up straight. I'm not going. The next second, I flopped back onto the sofa and slowly added, my foot hurts. My father said nothing, waiting until my mother came out of the kitchen to mention it. Xiao Yuan's foot is still swollen. The doctor said he needs to rest a lot. Just the two of us will go to your eldest sister's house tonight. I immediately looked at my mother. My foot hurts. We had a tacit understanding, not mentioning the previous conversation. My mother glanced at my still swollen foot and nodded. Then you stay home and rest. I breathed a silent sigh of relief, but my thoughts drifted away. Back when I was buying my apartment, my eldest aunt's daughter was preparing to get married. The groom's family requested they not live with the in-law and have their own marital home. Her family didn't have enough for the down payment, so they targeted me. Of course, I refused flatly. My aunt's family had to borrow money from others, scraping together funds from everywhere to make the down payment. But ever since then, my usually gentle aunt became cold towards me, and the cousin I grew up with also drifted away. My eldest uncle would also make sarcastic remarks. Every time we met, he would either brag about how good his daughter's job was, how high her salary was, or he would imply that I was an old, unsociable bachelor stuck at home who wouldn't be able to get a wife in the future. So I couldn't be bothered to show my face around them either. It was best if we just left each other alone. The New Year holidays passed quickly, and a week went by in a flash. The swelling in my foot also went down. In the afternoon, while I was buried in my manuscript, I got a message from Lu Guan asking to hang out tonight. I agreed immediately. After all, what's better, going out to have fun or staying home to rush a manuscript? Is that even a choice? I glanced at the weather forecast. The weather today was quite warm. I wore a white turtleneck sweater as a base layer, with a thick black windbreaker over it, tidied myself up a bit, and went out. I arrived at the meeting spot, and not long after, I saw Lu Guan from a distance, coming out of the subway exit. Amidst the bustling crowd, he was truly a dazzling sight. He had only taken a few steps when a girl approached to strike up a conversation. It seemed Lu Guan turned her down, and the girl left in a huff. I let out a sigh. Comparisons are truly odious. We met at a newly opened shopping mall, not very tall but with a huge floor area. We browsed through a clothing store, couldn't find anything we liked, so we took the escalator up. We found a hot pot restaurant on the 4th floor that wasn't crowded and sat down. I picked up a piece of beef tripe and dipped it into the bubbling spicy broth, silently chanting the 7 up, 8 down rule in my head. Through the billowing steam, a pair of chopsticks suddenly shot out and precisely snatched the piece of tripe I had just cooked. The corners of Lu Guan's eyes crinkled, and he smiled brightly. This is too spicy. Your foot hasn't fully healed yet. He picked up a piece of beef from the mushroom broth for me. Eat this. I put down my chopsticks and looked at him resentfully. I'm not eating. Lu Guan's expression didn't change. He'll treat you to a bar later to watch the beauties. My expression changed instantly, my smiling eyes curving into crescents. I picked up another piece of tripe from the spicy broth and put it in his bowl. Please, sir. After eating, we left the shopping mall and took a taxi straight to the bar street. From afar, we could see the tavern that's been trending on short video platforms recently. There were 2 young waitresses standing at the door. Seeing us, they immediately came to greet us. After walking through a long corridor, as soon as we entered the tavern, the lights immediately dimmed. Lu Guan and I arrived quite early, so many of the booths in the main hall were still empty. We chose a spot near the stage, ordered a dozen lychee cocktails, and also got some snacks. As night gradually fell, the bar was noisy and lively, and the atmosphere was buzzing. Lu Guan had just turned away another girl who came to talk to him, and when he turned back, he saw me, intently munching on the fruit platter. Did I tell you to come here just to eat? My movements paused. I leisurely speared another piece of kiwi, then pushed the fruit platter towards him. This fruit platter is actually not bad. You should try some too. Lu Guan looked at me with an expression of exasperation at my uselessness. Just as he was about to say something, his gaze was drawn to a spot not far away, and he raised his eyebrows, gesturing to me. I understood immediately. Following his gaze, in a booth in the corner, 3 young women were sitting. The most striking one was wearing a black windbreaker. My pupils suddenly constricted. I recognized that woman who stood out like a crane among chickens. Gu Qinghan, the flower on the high mountain of Provincial No. 2 Hospital, the deputy head of the orthopedics department, and also the person I had just sworn I would never want to see again, the one who witnessed the entirety of my mortifyingly embarrassing moment. Go get her WeChat. Lu Guan was eager to give it a try. I retracted my gaze in a flash, immediately turning into an ostrich. No way. That Gu Qinghan? You can tell at a glance she's not the type who would entertain a guy hitting on her. Getting embarrassed once is enough. I don't want a second time. What's wrong? Lu Guan sensed something was off. The beauty in the black windbreaker? Isn't she your type? You two are even wearing matching outfits. I jumped as if electrocuted, unzipped my black windbreaker, revealing the white turtleneck sweater inside. I am not. In the corner booth, Leah, with her almond eyes, narrowed them slightly, her tone full of teasing. Qinghan, that booth in front of the stage, there are 2 handsome guys peeking at you. The light from the rotating ceiling lamp happened to sweep across Gu Qinghan's face, and her cold gaze followed it. I was talking to Lu Guan, the light and shadows of the bar casting over me, the interplay of light and dark sketching out a handsome profile. Fair and clear skin, well-defined, 3-dimensional features, with short, jet-black hair falling casually, adding a touch of lazy charm. Gu Qinghan's gaze lingered for a few seconds, then she immediately looked away. Leah raised an eyebrow, a strange glint flashing in her flirtatious almond eyes. How rare, to actually make Gu Qinghan look at a guy for more than 3 seconds. Gu Qinghan pressed her thin lips together, her expression unreadable. As soon as she finished speaking, Leah deliberately dragged out her words in an exaggerated tone. For Dr. Gu to actually remember a male patient, the sun must have risen from the west today. She nudged Lu Hao, who was playing on his phone beside her, looking like a gossip who loved stirring up trouble. Haozi, Qinghan is about to get off the market. Don't call me Haozi. Lu Hao put away his phone and furrowed his brows. You think Qinghan is like you, with a messy love life? Li Ya, an attending physician in the cardiothoracic surgery department of Provincial No. 2 Hospital. Rumor has it that her ex-boyfriends could form a circle around a stadium. Together with Gu Qinghan, they were known as the 2 flowers of Provincial No. 2 Hospital. Unfortunately, one was the flower on the high mountain, pursued by thousands, while the other was a notorious flirt everyone disliked. Hey, that's a low blow. Li Ya clicked her tongue, her tone lazy. Qinghan, be honest, is this the first time in your life you've remembered a male patient? Gu Qinghan completely ignored her, her cold face showing no ripple of emotion, but in her mind she recalled the scene from the clinic last week. That day was the first day of the Lunar New Year. She had voluntarily swapped shifts with an older doctor in the department. She thought the new year would be a bit quieter, but unexpectedly, she still encountered a few people feigning illness. Her mood wasn't good that day, until she saw me. Those red socks with the happiness character printed on them had indeed left a deep impression on her. Gu Qinghan picked up her cocktail glass, her long, slender, fair fingers gently swirling the drink. The line of her lips, usually pressed tight, unconsciously relaxed, the corners of her mouth curving into a barely perceptible arc. Li Ya gave Lu Hao a meaningful look, and no matter how oblivious Lu Hao was, he could also tell that Gu Qinghan was in a good mood. When they first suggested going to the bar to relax, Gu Qinghan had still been reluctant. The two of them looked at each other and shared a knowing smile. Around midnight, the nightlife truly began. The dry ice machine sprayed out a lingering mist in the bar's hall, the band took the stage, and the explosive music ignited the lively atmosphere in the bar. Fang Yuan, confession brings leniency, resistance brings severity. Do you know that beauty over there? Lu Guan walked around the long table, sat on the same side as me, and put his arm around my shoulders. I don't know her. I refused to admit it, pushing Lu Guan to look at the stage. Your beautiful lead singer is here. The intro music ended, and a clear, melodious female voice started singing rock music. Lu Guan immediately let go of me. I sighed in relief, but as if possessed, I turned my head to look at the booth in the corner again. The lighting in the hall was dim, and through a lingering mist, Gu Qinghan happened to look over at the same time. Our eyes met in midair, our gazes locking. In the noisy, lively bar, but at this moment it was as if I couldn't hear any sound at all. In the corner booth, the woman's eyes and brows were cold, her gaze calm. But I, like a thief with a guilty conscience, was the first to look away. Then, like plugging one's ears while stealing a bell, I glanced around the hall, pretending I hadn't intentionally looked in that direction. Finally, I slumped back against the sofa. At this moment, my heart was pounding like a drum. I quietly touched my burning earlobe, picked up the cocktail from the table and took a sip, The light sweetness of lychee and the strong taste of alcohol spread through my mouth at the same time, eventually turning into a dizzying intoxication. I put the glass down, not daring to look in that direction again. Time passed, second by second, minute by minute. The lead singer of the band on stage had been replaced by a handsome guy wearing a baseball cap. I took out my phone to check the time. It was almost 1 a.m. Let's go home. I glanced at Lu Guan, who had lost interest because the sexy female lead singer had left. Lu Guan picked up his bag and stood up. He had come here for the female lead singer. Now that she was gone, he wasn't interested anymore either. The lights in the hall changed, a kaleidoscope of colors. We walked towards the bar's restroom. I had just drunk too much alcohol. Although the concentration was very low, the quantity was large and I felt a bit bloated. The bar's restroom was near the exit, with men's and women's on opposite sides and a shared sink area in the middle. Coming out of the men's restroom, as I looked up, I saw a familiar figure just coming out from the opposite side. I froze on the spot, lowering my head, not daring to make a sound. Why is Gu Qinghan here too? Let's go. Lu Guan came out from behind me and pushed me towards the sinks. What are you standing here for, blocking the doorway? There were 3 sinks, with a clear glass mirror in front of them. I was pushed by Lu Guan to the middle sink, and to my right was Gu Qinghan. I just wanted to shrink my head into my collar, silently praying that Gu Qinghan wouldn't recognize me. On my left, Lu Guan finished washing his hands, adjusted his collar in the mirror, and glanced at me from the corner of his eye, urging me on. Hurry up. I put my hands under the automatic sensor faucet and warm water slowly trickled out. To my right, the sound of water stopped. Gu Qinghan took a paper towel from the dispenser on the wall and slowly dried the water from her hands. A few seconds later, she walked out, passing by me and pausing for a moment. Her clear, cold voice sounded next to my ear. It's been a week, and your foot still hasn't fully healed. It's best to drink less. As soon as she finished speaking, her figure disappeared at the door. You know that beauty from just now? Lu Guan grabbed my arm, his eyes glinting with gossip. He suddenly remembered that he had wanted to ask me back at the booth, but ended up getting distracted by the female singer on stage. She's that doctor from the orthopedics department. I was utterly dejected, my voice as quiet as a mosquito's buzz. Gu Qinghan really did recognize me. The first time we met, she saw my red happiness socks, and I died of embarrassment on the spot. The second time we met, we ran into each other outside the bar's restroom. We truly are fated to meet, but not to be. So she's the beautiful doctor who saw your bright red socks? Lu Guan was excited. You two are quite fated. His eyes fell on my black windbreaker. And you're even wearing matching outfits today. You should just shut up. On a late winter night, the wind was biting cold. Outside the bars lining the street, dazzling neon signs flickered, and the streetlights on both sides cast a milky white glow. Lu Guan and I left the bar and walked along the street to get out. This famous bar street was very narrow, and both sides were parked with all sorts of luxury cars, so taxis couldn't enter. Standing by the roadside where we could hail a taxi, I shivered. The breath escaping from me, wearing only a windbreaker, turned into a faint mist in the cold air before finally disappearing. Let's get 2 cabs. Lu Guan and I lived in opposite directions. Yeah. Lu Guan was also so cold he kept pacing on the spot. There were many people hailing cabs by the road, all of them having just come from the bar street, gathered in groups of 2 or 3. The spot where we were waiting for a cab was at the back, so we couldn't squeeze into the several cabs that arrived one after another. I opened a ride-hailing app, took one look, and said with some discouragement, there are over 30 people in the queue ahead of us. I rarely go out usually, and mostly travel by subway. Same with Lu Guan, he either drives or takes the subway. Neither of us expected that at night outside a bar, the taxi business would be so booming. We had learned our lesson, now shivering in the cold wind. The night was deep, dotted with stars. Suddenly a gust of wind blew by, making my jacket billow, and I felt the bone-chilling cold even more. How about we walk a bit? Lu Guan was shivering from the cold. He was wearing even less than I was. I didn't want to walk and said through gritted teeth, let's just endure it for another 5 minutes. As soon as the words were out, a lazy female voice sounded from behind us. Hello, would you 2 handsome guys like to share a ride? We turned our heads to see the face of the woman who had spoken clearly. She looked gentle and beautiful, and had a pair of charming almond eyes. I recognized the identity of the woman in front of me. She was the one sitting in the same booth with Gu Qinghan in the bar. Lu Guan tugged my shirt from behind, asking me with his eyes. Li Ya noticed our hesitation, and the corners of her lips curved into a smile. She immediately sold out Gu Qinghan, who was standing a few steps away, tilting her chin towards Gu Qinghan. I'm also a doctor at Provincial No. 2 Hospital. Just now, Dr. Gu recognized you as her patient. As she spoke, she deliberately raised her voice. She's just cold on the outside but warm on the inside, always possessing the benevolence of a healer, caring for her patients. Before I could even answer, Lu Guan had already spoken up quickly, laughing heartily. Then we'll have to trouble you ladies. Yuan and I have been waiting for a long time and still haven't gotten a cab. After saying that, he changed the subject. Including you ladies, that makes 5 of us, it seems. Don't worry, Li Ya's voice was a bit smug. We called 2 cars. The 2 groups merged into one and walked together towards the waiting taxis. I was forced into a fait accompli and walked beside Gu Qinghan with a numb scalp, my clear voice tinged with some tension. Dr. Gu, sorry to trouble you. In the bar, I pretended not to see Gu Qinghan, only to be exposed in the restroom. I thought we wouldn't meet again, but now we even have to share a ride. I just wanted to disappear on the spot. Gu Qinghan's cold gaze fell upon me. Her eyes moved downwards, stopping on my leather shoes. Your foot hasn't healed yet. Try to wear flat-soled shoes. She spoke, her voice low and cold. I was stunned and looked down at my feet. When I looked up again, I could only see Gu Qinghan's back. The group stopped in front of 2 taxis. Li Ya's meaningful gaze swept over me, then moved away. Lu Hao and I are in the west of the city. Qinghan is in the Taiyan New Town in the east. What about Mr. Lu and Mr. Fang? In the short walk just now, she had learned our names from Lu Guan. I am also in the west. Fang Yuan is in the east, at Jinggan Gardens. Lu Guan replied, looking at me, the corners of his mouth curving up. Fang Yuan's place and Dr. Gus' place are just a street apart. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone's eyes turned to me and Gu Qinghan. I also looked in surprise at the woman, with a cold aura in front of me, not expecting Gu Qinghan to live so close to me. Jinggan Gardens is an old residential area, while Taiyan New Town is a high-end residential area built in recent years. The 2 residential areas are only separated by a road, but the property prices are worlds apart. When I was buying a house, I also looked at places in Taiyan New Town, but was ultimately deterred by the sky-high prices, and bought a place in Jinggan Gardens instead. Then Qinghan and Mr. Fang can take 1 car. Li Ya seemed to be suppressing a laugh, and Lu Hao beside her was grinning from ear to ear. Gu Qinghan gave the 2 of them a cold glance, her eyes narrowing slightly, emitting a hint of danger. Li Ya and Lu Hao wiped the smiles off their faces and said to Lu Guan, "Then Mr. Lu, please ride with us." Lu Guan ignored my pleading gaze and decisively got into the car with Li Ya and Lu Hao. Closing the car door, he waved at me. "Text me when you get home." In the back seat, Li Ya's lazy voice was full of hidden meaning. Qinghan will definitely get Mr. Fang home safely. The taxi started, carrying the 3 of them into the night. "Let's go." Gu Qinghan's clear, cold voice along with a gust of night wind drifted into my ear. As soon as she finished speaking, she opened the front passenger door. I mumbled a response, and quietly sat in the back seat. Once we were both settled, the female driver stepped on the gas and the car quickly started moving. The bar street with its flickering neon lights disappeared into the night. I opened my mouth intending to speak, but through the rearview mirror, I noticed that Gu Qinghan was leaning her head to look at the night scenery outside the window, with absolutely no intention of talking to me. I quietly averted my gaze and took out my phone to spam Lu Guan with messages. "You are so disloyal. Do you know how awkward the atmosphere in the car is right now? Even the female driver isn't saying a word." Lu Guan replied with a long string of ha ha ha. "You and your red sock doctor are quite faded. Li Ya just said, Gu Qinghan only moved there 3 days ago." Looking at the message Lu Guan sent, I resentfully poked at my phone screen. "What red sock doctor? Don't mention the Red Sox again?" I focused on replying to the message, not noticing that Gu Qinghan in the front seat was no longer looking at the night scenery outside the window. The car continued to move forward, the street lights on both sides passing by one by one. The flickering lights shone on my fair face, clearly reflecting the lively and animated expressions on my face in the rearview mirror. Gu Qinghan looked at the rearview mirror, a strange hint of emotion tinging her calm eyes. Outside the car window, the night was dark. Inside the car, the heater was on, making it very warm. I put away my phone and sneaked a glance at the rearview mirror, only to unexpectedly meet a pair of cold, dark eyes. I abruptly averted my gaze, leaning close against the car door, pretending nothing had happened. In the front seat, the corners of Gu Qinghan's lips curved into a small arc, then quickly fell again. The taxi had arrived before I knew it. The female driver finally spoke. "Who's paying?" I hastily took out my phone. Gu Qinghan in the passenger seat had already paid. I quietly tightened my grip on my phone and said softly, Thank you, Dr. Gu." After getting out of the car, the cold gaze of Gu Qinghan fell on me again. Her clear, cold face under the deep night sky gained an extra touch of charm. I froze under her gaze and suddenly blurted out, "Dr. Gu, how much was the fare? I'll pay you back." "No need." Gu Qinghan retracted her gaze, her voice cold. "I live in this complex anyway." I tried to remain calm, pointed to the complex behind us. "Well, goodbye, Dr. Gu. Sorry for troubling you today." Gu Qinghan was silent for a few seconds. "Goodbye." I turned and walked towards the entrance of the residential complex, my thin figure casting a long shadow on the ground. Gu Qinghan stood by the roadside. The traffic light next to her turned green, but she remained still. Not far away, the sound of me greeting the security guard was carried to her ears by a cold gust of wind. She crossed to the other side of the road. Returning to my warm room, I immediately took off my windbreaker, quickly washed up, and eagerly dove into my soft bed. The next day, the sky was already bright. A small lump rose from the middle of the soft gray comforter. I turned over in bed, sat up wrapped in my blanket. It was almost noon. The clear sunlight shone through the glass window, illuminating my fair and handsome face. My pale skin seemed to be covered in a layer of soft, hazy light. I yawned, my round, jet-black eyes covered with a misty layer of moisture. Suddenly, the phone on the nightstand rang frantically, shattering the silence. I fumbled for the phone and answered it. Hello, I just woke up. My voice is still sluggish. I knew you'd only be waking up now. Lu Guan's voice came from the other end of the line. Hey, how did it go with that Dr. Guqinghan last night? I walked into the bathroom while on the phone and said weakly, nothing happened. We weren't close to begin with. Last night was so awkward. Oh. Lu Guan sounded a little disappointed. With such a good opportunity last night, you didn't ask for her contact information? I put the phone on the sink and turned on the speaker. How would I dare? Guqinghan is as cold as a human-shaped ice machine, not to mention I embarrassed myself to death in front of her. Besides, I'm only brave with my words online. Haha. Lu Guan suddenly laughed mischievously. Fang Yuan, I think if you had asked for her contact information yesterday, you probably would have succeeded. On the way back yesterday, Li Ya said that Guqinghan secretly glanced at you a few times at the bar. Secretly glanced at me? I was startled and almost swallowed my toothpaste. I quickly rinsed my mouth, then picked up the phone again. How is that possible? I was the one who secretly glanced at her a few times, and I got caught every time. It's true. Lu Hao said he saw it too. Lu Guan's voice was full of temptation. Why don't you go to the hospital and ask for her contact information? I really think you two are fated to be together, and now you live so close to each other, just a street apart. I remembered the day at the reception desk, the look the nurse gave me, and immediately rejected his suggestion. All right, stop overthinking it. Suppressing the strange feeling rising in my heart, I pretended to say lightly, I probably won't see her again in the future. Otherwise, every time I see her, it'd be reminded of my embarrassing moment. Lu Guan still felt it was a bit of a pity. He is a veteran member of the Beauty Appreciation Society through and through. Guqinghan is beautiful, cold and cool, and with a gentle and well-behaved person like me, we're a perfect match. We talked for a while longer, and after hanging up, I had a simple brunch, then took a taxi to my parents' house in Chunhua Yuan. Today is my mother's birthday. As soon as I got home, my father, Feng Sheng, shot me a glare. You might as well have come back at night. Look at the dark circles under your eyes. You stayed up late again last night, didn't you? I put on a fawning smile. I overslept. After saying that, I quickly presented the birthday gift I bought for my mom, a watch from a minor luxury brand. My mother is the director of education at a high school. She has an extremely strong sense of time and is on the front lines of catching puppy love all year round. My 3 years of high school were in her hands. I had almost no contact with the opposite sex during those 3 years. How much did it cost? My father took the watch, glanced at it, and unconsciously asked for the price. Expensive. The corners of my mouth curved. 1 month's manuscript fee. My father knows my approximate income. After hearing that, he glared at me again. Wasting money. But the smile at the corner of his mouth stretched. I didn't mind. I can tell whether my father is really scolding me or just scolding for the sake of it. As expected, when my mother came out of the kitchen wearing an apron, he was scolded by my father and then happily put on the new watch. Mother and I looked at each other and smiled. After staying home for 2 days and being disliked by my father several times, I took the subway back to Jinggan Huayuan. Standing at the gate of the apartment complex, I subconsciously looked across the street at a row of high-rise buildings standing side by side. After a few glances, I withdrew my gaze and turned to enter the apartment complex. Although Jinggan Huayuan is an old apartment complex, the greenery is very well maintained. Unfortunately, it's still winter now. The weather is cold and everything is bare. The complex is full of festive red lanterns. Even though the new year has passed, it's still filled with a festive atmosphere. My home is in building number 5. Walking to the building entrance, the elderly residents of the building were carrying chairs out to the main gate to sunbathe. Xiao Yuan, did you just come back from your parents' place? You're getting more and more handsome. You're 24 after the new year, right? Do you have a girlfriend yet? After greeting the enthusiastic elders one by one, I practically fled into the elevator. Jinggan Huayuan and my parents' home in Chunhua Yuan are very similar. Both are old apartment complexes, mostly inhabited by the elderly, who always like to concern themselves with single young men living alone like me and never tire of setting me up with people. With a ding, the elevator doors opened. I stepped out of the elevator and continued to the right side of the hallway. The building has 10 floors. I live on the 5th floor, which has 4 units, and I'm in the outermost unit on the right. I took out my key to open the door, went inside, and my whole body relaxed. I kicked off my shoes and walked barefoot on the heated marble floor, feeling the warmth seep up from my feet. After drinking a glass of water, I went into the study. After turning on the computer, I sent a message. Soon after, my phone vibrated and I received a reply. Yay man, welcome back, missing person. I was speechless and replied with a message. Yu. I was only home for 2 days. Ye Man is a brother I met online. Yu is my pen name. Back then, we were both newcomers in the comic industry. After we met by chance, our friendship has lasted until now for 6 or 7 years. Ye Man, the signing event at the April Anime Festival. Are you coming? Ye Man, if you go, I'll go too. My fingers, which were replying to the message, paused. The clear glass window reflected my slightly stunned expression. Yu. I haven't replied to the event organizers yet. There's still more than a month to go. The signing event at the Anime Festival in April is one of the hottest events in the second world. I'm a top author on the comics website, and for the past few years, I've received an invitation almost every year. but I always clearly separate my life and work. Plus, I don't like to show my face in public, so I've never gone. Moreover, my eyes darkened. If I go, I won't be able to avoid running into someone. Yeah, man. All right then. No more talking, baby. Let's get to work first. We are brothers, and also a notorious deadline-missing duo online. I looked at the message, shaking off my slightly gloomy mood. My round eyes curved, and I replied with one word. Okay. In the blink of an eye, another week passed. The next day was the Lantern Festival. I dawdled at home until nearly evening before going out, taking the subway to my parents' house in Chunhua Yuan. The subway station is a short distance from Jingganhuayuan, and this area is a university town, so I saw quite a few couples whispering intimately along the way. I silently buried my face in my scarf. Just as I reached the subway station entrance, a familiar figure came up the escalator. The woman was wearing a mask, still dressed in a black trench coat with a white cashmere sweater underneath. Her attire was simple, but thanks to her tall and slender figure, she stood out in the crowd. I subconsciously stopped walking, looking at the person approaching me, and felt my heart skip a beat again. Gu Qinghan, on the other hand, avoided the crowd and walked towards the exit, her delicate eyebrows tinged with a bit of coldness. Every gesture exuded an aura of aloofness, warning strangers not to approach. Dr. Gu. A male voice sounded next to her ear, the clear tone carrying a hint of familiarity. Gu Qinghan stopped and glanced sideways. Her cold gaze fell on me, standing a meter away from her. Today I was wearing a light gray woolen coat with a black and white striped scarf. More than half of my face was hidden behind the scarf, revealing only a pair of clear, round eyes, both limpid and lively. Gu Qinghan furrowed her delicate brows slightly. She recognized me. Dr. Gu, what a coincidence. I was nervous and swallowed. I don't know why I was possessed to call out to Gu Qinghan just now. Now that she was looking at me, I felt endlessly awkward. Just got off work? I forced myself to continue the conversation. Mum, Gu Qinghan responded indifferently and continued to look at me. I racked my brain for something to say, my hands unconsciously clutching the hem of my coat. People were coming and going in the subway station. Everyone was in a hurry. We stood quietly amidst the bustling crowd. Is there anything else? Gu Qinghan spoke first, her voice cold yet pleasant to hear. No, nothing, I stammered. I slightly regretted calling out to Gu Qinghan just now. I must have been muddled by all the affectionate couples I saw on the way here. It's just that I know you're busy with work. So you probably don't know that tomorrow night at the University Town Square, there's a Lantern Festival party. It'll probably be very lively. If you have time tomorrow, you could go check it out. No, wait. It'll definitely be very crowded. It's better if you don't go. My words were contradictory. As soon as I finished, without waiting for the woman beside me to reply, I fled for my life, squeezing into the crowd. Inside the subway station, I heaved a sigh of relief, while silently hating myself for being so useless. I had clearly decided not to see her again, yet I eagerly approached her, creating another awkward encounter. I got on the subway. It was the evening rush hour, and it was packed with people. I held onto a pole with one hand and texted with the other. I did something stupid again. Not long after the message was sent, I received a reply. Lu Guan, what's wrong? Lu Guan, did you use face wash to brush your teeth again? Or when you went downstairs to take out the trash, did you throw your takeout into the trash can? I ignored his previous message. I was blinded by beauty again. Lu Guan. When I arrived at Chunhua Yuan, as expected, I got another scolding from my father. It's already dark, you might as well have come over at midnight. I didn't dare to make a peep. While my father went to the kitchen to bring out the food, I winked at my mother. Dad's been a bit grumpy lately. My mother looked like she was used to it. He's at that age. Now that you're back, you can help me share some of the firepower. Both of you don't know how to lift a finger, waiting for me to serve you. My father placed a plate of food on the table, frowned at my mother and me. I shrank back, and together with my mother, one got the bowls and the other brought the food. The bright lights cast a milky white glow. The three of us finally sat down at the dining table. My father placed a chicken wing in my bowl and seemed to speak casually. You're 24 after the new year? Do you have any plans for the new year? I picked up the chicken wing, took a bite. It was tender and fell off the bone. I played dumb. Of course, I plan to work hard and make money. After saying that, I smiled with my eyes squinted, flattering my father, trying to change the subject. Dad, this chicken wing is really delicious. When I leave tomorrow, can you make some more for me so I can take it back? Seeing my nonchalant attitude, my father felt a lump in his chest that he couldn't get up or down. My father works at the neighborhood office, where everyone in the office likes to gossip about household matters. He has a nemesis at the office who used to mock me for being a freeloader at home after graduation. After I bought a house on my own, my father finally had a chance to be proud. As a result, that person's son, before the new year, found a rich second-generation girlfriend and started showing off in front of my father again. Although at that time my father had objected, saying I was still young, he took it to heart. Before the new year was busy, now that he's free, he wants to bring it up in front of me. All right, stop playing dumb, my father said in annoyance. You're not a kid anymore. You should consider your personal matters. You just stay cooped up at home drawing all day and don't socialize. How can you meet people your age? He paused for a moment, his tone softened a bit. Coincidentally, Uncle Zhang's sister-in-law's daughter is the same age as you. Tomorrow is also the Lantern Festival. You young people should meet up and have dinner together. This was too sudden. I couldn't accept it. I shot a pleading look at my mother. She replied with a helpless look. All right, your father and your Uncle Zhang have already arranged it. My father finalized it. She's a doctor, you know, young and talented. She might not even be interested in you. Doctor, doctor. The image of Gu Qinghan appeared in my mind, and I was slow to react for a few seconds. Her surname is Xiao. She works at the No. 2 Provincial Hospital. I just sent you her contact information. My father put another chicken wing in my bowl and threatened me with a half smile. If you stand her up tomorrow night, you better watch your hide. I didn't make another peep. I picked up the chicken wing and took a fierce bite, venting my frustration. Outside the window, the night was thick. A crescent moon hung high in the night sky. The twinkling stars emitted a shimmering light. The night wind was bone-chilling. The air was freezing. The next afternoon, just after 3 o'clock, my father pulled me out of bed, scolding me as he flipped the blanket. All you do all day is eat and sleep and eat. Hurry up and get dressed. With my messy hair, I was a little dejected. It's only 3 o'clock now. My father was unmoved. Don't dawdle, hurry up. Over an hour later, I reluctantly left the house. The red lanterns decorating the apartment complex for the New Year still hadn't been taken down. Today was the Lantern Festival. There were lanterns and flowers everywhere, bustling and lively. From the building's hallway to the main gate of the complex, I wore a smile and greeted people politely. After leaving the main gate of Chunhua Yuan, I immediately dropped my smile, rubbed my stiff cheeks, and took out my phone to complain to Lu Guan. Everyone's celebrating the festival today, but I'm being forced to go on a blind date. Lu Guan already knew last night that I had to go on a blind date and comforted me. Look on the bright side, what if she's a beauty? Looking at the subway and hearing the whistle of its approach, I sent another message. All right, no more talking. I'm off to the battlefield. After sending the message, I put my phone away and followed the crowd onto the subway. Chunhua Yuan and the No. 2 Provincial Hospital are both on the same subway line. It's just that the distance is a bit far. An hour later, I followed the bustling crowd again and squeezed out of the subway. I felt that even breathing was much smoother. Across the street, I stared at the hospital entrance opposite me and was stunned for a moment. The last time I came to the No. 2 Provincial Hospital was half a month ago. I didn't expect to be here again half a month later, and to meet a blind date no less. The surrounding traffic was dense. People were coming and going. I took out my phone and sent a message to the blind date I had just added as a friend last night. About 10 minutes later, a figure in a red dress walked out from the hospital gate and crossed the street towards me. I squinted, feeling no ripples in my heart. Hello, I'm Xiao Xiaobi. The short-haired girl in the red dress walked up to me. Her pretty face carried a hint of apology. Hello, I'm Fang Yuan. I put a moderate smile on my face, modest and measured. Let me take you to the hospital cafeteria to eat. Seeing that I didn't look unhappy, Xiao Xiaobi sighed in relief. I nodded. Okay. Just now on the subway, Xiao Xiaobi suddenly sent a message saying she had to work overtime unexpectedly and the dinner would probably have to be cancelled. I was originally planning to go straight home, but she said she still wanted to meet and could treat me to a meal at the cafeteria of the No. 2 Provincial Hospital. At that moment, Gu Qinghan's cold and beautiful face appeared in my mind again. As if possessed, I agreed. Mr. Fang, this way, please. Xiao Xiaobi held the glass door of the cafeteria open for me. Thank you, I replied politely and stepped into the cafeteria. A wave of warmth hit my face, the sound of people bustling, and the air was filled with the aroma of various foods. Xiao Xiaobi led me towards the food counter. Speaking quickly, she introduced me to some of the cafeteria's specialty dishes. I got a small portion of boiled fish, glanced around, and chose a counter with fewer people. 10 minutes later, the two of us carrying our food trays had just found an empty table and sat down. A languid voice sounded from behind us. Dr. Xiao. I looked up, just in time to see Li Ya raising his eyebrows at us. After getting a clear look at the woman standing next to Li Ya, my heart suddenly started beating fast, and I lowered my head to stare at my food tray. Xiao Xiaobi, sitting across from me, also saw the two of them and greeted them with some hesitation. Dr. Li, Dr. Gu. The cafeteria was crowded with people, bustling and noisy. Li Ya, carrying a food tray, casually as if he knew us well, walked up to the two of us. His peach blossom eyes narrowed, his voice lazy. Dr. Xiao, Mr. Fang, the cafeteria is crowded. Would you mind if we shared the table? Xiao Xiaobi and I were sitting at a 4-person table, and the seats next to us were both empty. Xiao Xiaobi looked at me, a bit awkwardly, and after 2 seconds, she finally replied, It's no bother, please have a seat. Leah raised his eyebrows at Gu Qinghan. Dr. Gu, come sit here. With that, he walked straight over to sit next to Xiao Xiaobi, leaving the seat next to me open. Feeling the footsteps approaching, my hand holding the chopsticks unconsciously tightened its grip. My fingertips turned white. I never expected to actually run into Gu Qinghan here. The cold gaze of Gu Qinghan fell on me, causing me to freeze for a second. Her food tray was placed to my left, and she sat down in the chair next to me. The hems of our coats brushed against each other, and I quickly pulled my woolen coat back, quietly shifting a little to the side. The four of us were seated, and the atmosphere was a bit awkward. I ate in small bites without looking up, feeling a little regretful for agreeing to meet Xiao Xiaobi here. As I was lost in thought, Li Ya took the initiative and started a conversation. Dr. Xiao and Mr. Fang, do you know each other? Just now he went to find Gu Qinghan to have lunch together, and when they entered the cafeteria, before he even saw Fang Yuan, Gu Qinghan's eyes had already fallen on him. We're on a blind date. Xiao Xiaobi glanced at me. She was an honest girl who spoke her mind. As she finished speaking, I lowered my head a bit more. Gu Qinghan sat beside me, her cold gaze pressing down. Only Lai Ya seemed oblivious. He looked at me, his handsome face showing an exaggerated expression. Mr. Fang, you're so young and already going on blind dates? Are you even 20 yet? I'm 24. Li Ya drew out his words, glancing meaningfully at Gu Qinghan opposite him. Then his gaze fell back on Xiao Xiaobi. Dr. Xiao is 27 this year, right? You're 2 years younger than Dr. Gu. Although she didn't know how old he was or his relationship with Gu Qinghan, Xiao Xiaobai still nodded and continued. Yes, I'm 27 this year. A 3-year age gap. Very good, very good. It's not quite robbing the cradle yet. Li Ya teased, and even deliberately nudged Gu Qinghan under the table, his words carrying a double meaning. Xiao Xiaobi knew that Li Ya was usually a bit improper, so she could only treat it as a joke. Remembering that Li Ya had called Fang Yuan Mr. Fang, she looked at the young man in front of her, her voice clear. Mr. Fang, do you and Dr. Li know each other? Before I could answer, Li Ya spoke first. Mr. Fang is Dr. Gus' patient, and a few of us happened to run into each other once before. It was very fateful. With that, he looked at Gu Qinghan and deliberately asked her, Isn't that right, Dr. Gu? The cold-faced woman hummed in agreement, uttering her first syllable since sitting down at the table. Hearing her voice, I, who had been a bit distracted, finally snapped back to reality, my nervousness mixed with a hint of anticipation. Was she responding to the first part of Li Ya's sentence, or the last part? Opposite me, Li Ya glanced at Gu Qinghan and gave a faint smile. So prideful. But Xiao Xiaobi was still completely unaware, and even laughed as she said, Well, what a coincidence. 10 minutes or so passed, and the meal was almost over. Xiao Xiaobi had to go back to work overtime, and looking at me, she couldn't help but sigh internally, her tone a little apologetic. Mr. Fang, I have to go back to work overtime. I have tomorrow off. How about I treat you to another meal? No need, you should get back to work. I looked up, a faint smile on my face. Today was great as it is. This time Li Ya at the side finally didn't interject. He just silently nudged Gu Qinghan under the table again. Gu Qinghan glanced up at him, her cold eyes carrying a hint of a warning. Meanwhile, Xiao Xiaobi heard my polite refusal. Her mood dampened, knowing that today's blind date was a failure. She had a pretty good impression of me. What a pity. Out of politeness, she spoke gently again. Then let me walk you out. As she finished, Li Ya cut in again. Mr. Fang knows the way out. You should hurry back to your shift. Your patients are waiting for you. He held his empty food tray in one hand and put his other arm around Xiao Xiaobi's shoulder, forcefully pulling her away. It just so happens I'm on duty tonight. Let's go back together. Xiao Xiaobi couldn't struggle free and was dragged away, feeling a bit annoyed. She felt that the failure of her blind date with Fang Yuan today was mainly Li Ya's fault. Such a good person, but all he has is a mouth. In an instant, only Gu Qinghan and I were left at the table, sitting next to each other. Fortunately, there were still many people eating around us, which lessened the awkwardness a bit. I picked up my empty tray and stood up, not daring to look directly at the woman beside me, only glancing out of the corner of my eye, my clear voice betraying a hint of nervousness. Dr. Gu, you'll be leaving now. After saying that, without waiting for Gu Qinghan to reply, I hurried away with my empty tray. Gu Qinghan sat at the table, staring at my retreating back, her calm, dark eyes darkening. Just as she picked up her phone, the screen lit up and a new message came in. Li Ya, seize the opportunity. Stepping out of the hospital gate, I felt the bone-chilling cold and the heat in my ears quietly subsided. The once clear sky was now tinged with a gloomy color. The streetlights on both sides had turned on, casting a warm yellow glow. I exhaled, my breath forming a plume of white smoke, which eventually vanished into the night. I took out my phone to check the time. It was past 6 o'clock. This was the evening rush hour, and for a moment I was torn between taking a taxi and the subway. As I was pondering, a black Mercedes drove out of the hospital parking lot and slowly stopped in front of me. The car window rolled down. The cold, exquisite face of Gu Qinghan appeared before my eyes. She looked at me, her voice as cool as a babbling brook in the mountains. Get in. I was momentarily struck by her beauty, my body moving faster than my brain. By the time I realized what was happening, I had already opened the car door and sat in the passenger seat. Seeing my dazed and panicked expression, Gu Qinghan averted her gaze, the corner of her lips curling into a small curve, which vanished in an instant. The rearview mirror reflected her deep, dark eyes, now tinged with a hint of warmth. She didn't speak and quietly started the car. In the passenger seat, I gripped the seatbelt in front of me, my face still showing a trace of bewilderment. Why did I get into Gu Qinghan's car? I blinked, hint of embarrassment flashing in my clear eyes. Perhaps I was once again blinded by beauty. The light inside the car was dim, and the silent embarrassment transformed into an ambiguity that made one blush and their heart race. The black car sped through the dark night, the city's neon lights flashing past the window. Soon, we hit traffic, and the car slowly came to a stop. Feeling the excessive silence in the car, I secretly turned to look at Gu Qinghan again, only to meet her. Calm, dark eyes. Gu Qinghan was also looking at me, her cold gaze lingering on my blushing cheeks. After 2 seconds, she spoke first. Are you hot? I touched my cheek, which was clearly much warmer. My earlobes were also starting to burn, and my voice was tinged with shyness. I'm wearing too many layers. My flushed appearance made me look even more innocently adorable than usual, so much so that it made people irresistibly want to tease me. In the deep eyes of Gu Qinghan, a shadow appeared. Her gaze deepened, and she said, "Let me turn down the heater a bit. Sorry to trouble you." I secretly breathed a sigh of relief, feeling that she seemed a bit more approachable than usual, and I gradually started to relax. I came to the number 2 provincial hospital today, with a sliver of fantasy in mind, and now, sitting in her car, it still felt unreal. "Dr. Gu, are you not working tonight?" I boldly started a conversation. Gu Qinghan started the car, moving slowly with the traffic ahead, her hands on the steering wheel. She replied to me in a relaxed posture. "It's my break." "That's great." I racked my brain for something to say when an idea suddenly struck me. Today is the Lantern Festival, and University City Square is having a Lantern Festival event. You could go check it out. It's bound to be very lively. After I said that, seeing that Gu Qinghan didn't respond, I started to feel a little regretful. Yesterday when we met at the subway station entrance, I had already tried to find things to recommend to her, and now I was recommending it so enthusiastically again, not to mention it might be overstepping. It made me seem like a promoter. As I was thinking of something to say to salvage the situation, the woman beside me suddenly spoke, her clear, pleasant voice echoing in the car. "Do you want to go?" I was startled and unconsciously nodded. "I do." "Okay." Gu Qinghan looked ahead. The usually cold lines of her face softened slightly, showing a rare gentleness. Hearing her agree, I lowered my eyes, my long, thick eyelashes trembling slightly, casting a small, fan-shaped shadow on my eyelids. The heat in my cheeks that had just subsided rose again, quietly turning a light pink. Gu Qinghan's cold gaze rested on my flushed cheeks, lingering for a moment before moving away, and in her deep dark eyes, it seemed, there was also a hint of warmth. After passing the most congested section of the road opened up, and the car that had been crawling like a turtle immediately started to speed up again. Along the way, I tried to start a conversation a few more times, and each time, although Gu Qinghan's replies were brief, she didn't leave me hanging. Time passed, second by second, minute by minute, and before I knew it, the car had driven into an underground parking garage. After Gu Qinghan parked the car, she unbuckled her seatbelt. "There are few parking spots at the square. This shopping mall is right across from the square." "Okay." I also hurried to unbuckle my seatbelt, pressing it twice. But the buckle remained stuck in the slot. The next second, Gu Qinghan leaned closer, her warm breath brushing the top of my head. "Is it stuck?" Smelling the faint scent of disinfectant on the woman in front of me, I shamelessly blushed again and hummed in my throat. A hand with well-defined knuckles reached over, pressed the slot once, and the buckle popped out with a click. "There you go." The pleasant, cool voice of Gu Qinghan sounded by my ear, and she moved back. I didn't dare to look up, the heat on my cheeks rising again, but this time it was out of embarrassment. "I couldn't get it to open just now. Does this seatbelt have a preference for people?" Gu Qinghan wouldn't think I did that on purpose, would she? "Let's go." Gu Qinghan got out of the car, walked around the front of the car to the passenger side, and opened the car door. "Thanks." I suppressed my inner embarrassment and anger and got out of the car. The two of us walked side by side out of the parking garage, the bright lights shining down, reflecting off the glossy floor, casting 2 long shadows. I secretly compared my height to Gu Qinghan's and felt a little discouraged. My actual height is 178 centimeters, which isn't considered short among guys, but standing next to Gu Qinghan, I wasn't much taller. Gu Qinghan was wearing flat boots, and she was also 172 centimeter tall, with a tall figure and an outstanding presence. It seems that girls this tall usually prefer taller guys. Leaving the parking garage, a cold breeze hit my face. The streetlights on both sides cast a milky white glow, illuminating a small area. The square was across the street, brightly lit with lights and teeming with people. Gu Qinghan looked at the square opposite, her brows furrowing almost imperceptibly, but when she saw my expectant face beside her, her expression softened a little. The traffic light beside us turned green. I stepped onto the crosswalk and turned to look at Gu Qinghan again, my face showing obvious joy. "Dr. Gu, let's go." The gloomy mood from the parking garage had long since been blown away by the wind. Seeing my smiling eyes looking at her, Gu Qinghan's mood also lifted unconsciously. She stepped forward and walked to my side. The square was very crowded, with all kinds of street vendors forming a circle, taking advantage of the holiday to sell all sorts of things. I looked around excitedly, my bright eyes curving into a soft line. Meanwhile, Gu Qinghan, half a meter away from me, kept her cold gaze fixed on me. "Does this look good on me?" I picked up a black baseball cap from a stall, put it on my head, and turned to ask the person behind me. But when I saw Gu Qinghan's beautiful and exquisite face, I froze, embarrassed and flustered. I was so engrossed in browsing just now, I thought Lu Guan was following me, so I just blurted it out. Gu Qinghan's dark eyes darkened, and her gaze shifted downwards. "It looks very good." She finally spoke, her usually cold voice tinged with a barely perceptible sweetness. I was embarrassed and quickly took off the hat and put it back on the stall, pretending like nothing happened as I walked leisurely to the next stall, muttering an excuse. "You'll look a little more." Gu Qinghan stared at my back, her eyes darkening. "Hey, beautiful. Buy one for your boyfriend." The owner of the accessories stall was also a young girl. She winked at Gu Qinghan, frantically hinting, Your boyfriend wearing that baseball cap is seriously super handsome. Anyone who sees him can't help but want to. Before she could finish her sentence, Gu Qinghan's gaze turned cold, and she gave her a light glance. The young owner laughed awkwardly and silently swallowed the rest of her words. I was completely unaware of what had happened here, looking at the items on the stall, but my mind was elsewhere. Remembering Gu Qinghan's somewhat heated gaze from just now, I couldn't help but blush and my heart raced again. That gaze seemed to have rekindled the spark of fantasy in my heart. There was a stage set up in the middle of the square with a band singing on it, but the music was drowned out by the surrounding noise and only a few scattered sounds could be heard. Dr. Gu. I turned to look at Gu Qinghan. The crowd was jostling, the noise was loud, and I couldn't help but speak louder. Let's get out of here first. What? Gu Qinghan didn't seem to hear what I said and leaned closer to me, closing the distance between us. I could even clearly see her long, thick eyelashes. What did you just say? Gu Qinghan looked down at me. Her cool voice amidst the noisy crowd seemed to have a hint of everyday life to it, but I just stared at her blankly. At that moment, I felt my heart skip a beat. My reflection was in her deep eyes, and her cold eyes at that moment seemed to reveal an unspoken charm. As she looked at me, my earlobes burned, and the unspeakable fantasy in my heart quietly spread. Suddenly, a young couple shouting, "Excuse me," passed behind me and hurriedly bumped into me, knocking me off balance, and I stumbled forward. The next second, I fell into a warm, soft embrace. It was Gu Qinghan. She didn't avoid me and caught me. "Are you okay?" A cool, pleasant voice came from above my head. I quickly stood up straight, feeling a little guilty. "I'm fine. It's crowded. Be careful." Gu Qinghan's gaze lingered on my cheek for a moment, then moved away. "Okay." I mumbled a reply, not daring to look at her anymore. Just now, when I fell into her arms, I smelled an elegant scent of tea. It turns out that when I'm closer to her, the smell of disinfectant is actually not as noticeable. "Let's go out first." Seeing that I was no longer in the mood to browse, Gu Qinghan spoke at the right time. She took a small step back again, and the two of us maintained a not-so-intimate distance. I nodded and dazedly walked out. I clearly hadn't had anything to drink, but I was a little drunk, intoxicated by that elegant scent of tea. The two of us walked against the crowd out of the square. I walked in front, not noticing that Gu Qinghan, who was walking behind me, was always in a protective stance for me, shielding me from the jostling crowd around us. When she looked at me, the corners of her long, narrow eyes lifted slightly, and in her cold, dark eyes, a faint smile flickered. Her cold face suddenly softened a lot. We finally squeezed out of the square, and I breathed a sigh of relief. The air outside the square was also a little fresher. I looked at Gu Qinghan, my shyness mixed with a bit of probing. "Dr. Gu, it's almost 9 o'clock. There will be fireworks at 9 o'clock. Can we go home after watching the fireworks?" Gu Qinghan nodded. "Okay." A small joy welled up in my heart, unconsciously appeared on my face. "Thank you, Dr. Gu." My clear voice also carried a hint of joy. Gu Qinghan looked at me intently, her gaze flickered slightly, then she looked away. The two of us stood on the steps, outside the square for a few minutes, and although neither of us said anything, the atmosphere was strangely harmonious. In such a bustling environment, I felt that the cold, strangers, stay-away aura of Gu Qinghan had disappeared, making her seem much more approachable. I quirked my lips, and a faint smile bloomed at the corners of my mouth. After waiting a little longer, a few snack stalls arrived. The stall owners called out energetically to sell their goods, and the enticing aroma of food quickly spread through the air. I secretly glanced towards a small stall selling roasted sweet potatoes, feeling a stir in my heart. I want to eat roasted sweet potatoes. Gu Qinghan saw me staring for a few seconds, my face full of anticipation, and deep within her dark eyes, a flash of amusement quickly appeared. I came back to my senses and asked eagerly, "Is it okay? She's a doctor. Could she be a germaphobe? Would she find these street stalls unhygienic?" "Okay." Gu Qinghan was unusually gentle. Her usually cold voice was tinged with a hard-to-detect indulgence. "It's cold. It's fine to eat." My nervous mood was immediately replaced by joy, and my bright eyes curved into a soft arc. I went to the roasted sweet potato stall to line up. Gu Qinghan's deep, dark eyes watched me, her thin lips curving into a very slight smile. After waiting in line for a few minutes, it was finally my turn. I expertly picked 2 roasted sweet potatoes with slightly cracked skin. Just as I was about to take out my phone to pay, a fair, slender hand reached out from the side and directly scanned the QR code to pay with her phone. "Dr. Gu." I stared blankly as Gu Qinghan put her phone away. "My treat," Gu Qinghan said calmly, and took the sweet potatoes from the stall owner. Her dark eyes looked at me. "Which one do you want?" "Either one is fine." I suppressed the strange feeling in my heart, trying to speak calmly. "The ones you pick are definitely very sweet." The amusement deep in Gu Qinghan's eyes seemed to deepen, and she handed me one of the potatoes. The two of us returned to our previous spot where there were fewer people. As I peeled the sweet potato, I secretly peeked at the movements of Gu Qinghan beside me from the corner of my eye. Seeing that her movements didn't hesitate or pause at all, I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Peeling off the slightly charred outer skin, the aroma of the sweet potato rose in wisps of swirling, hot steam. I scooped a piece with a spoon. It was soft, sweet, and fragrant. I squinted in satisfaction, then looked at Gu Qinghan again. Meeting my expectant gaze, Gu Qinghan also scooped up a small piece with her spoon. How is it? Is it sweet? As an expert in picking roasted sweet potatoes, I'm quite confident in my judgment. Sweet. Gu Qinghan replied calmly with a single word, but her gaze lingered on my face. A smug look was evident on my face, and just as I was about to say something, the bell in the square rang. The sound was deep and powerful, echoing throughout the square. It's 9 o'clock. The fireworks are about to start. My attention was immediately captured. I raised my head to look at the night sky, my face full of excitement and anticipation, but Gu Qinghan didn't move at all. Her calm gaze still fixed on me. A minute later, a firework shot straight up into the night sky, exploding in a burst of brilliant colors in an instant. Right after that, successive fireworks flew up into the night sky. Against the pitch-black night, magnificent flowers of fireworks bloomed one after another. I stared intently at the fireworks, but Gu Qinghan beside me was wholeheartedly watching my radiant smile. At this moment, the emotions in her heart surged. The feelings she had always suppressed gushed out fiercely. I don't know how much time had passed. The brilliant colors finally disappeared from the night sky. The quiet square became lively again. The fireworks are over. I lowered my head and suddenly met the deep, dark eyes of Gu Qinghan. She looked at me. Her calm, cold eyes had lost their usual indifference and were filled with a reserved tenderness. Fang Yuan, Happy Lantern Festival. Not until I was sitting in the car did I come back to my senses. I secretly glanced at the rearview mirror, looking at Gu Qinghan's cold expression. Just now, after the fireworks ended, she used such a gentle tone to wish me a happy lantern festival. It was like a beautiful dream I had imagined, but my slightly hot ears and flushed cheeks were all reminding me that what just happened was real. This woman, who exuded a cold aura from head to toe, as cold and proud as a flower on a high mountain, had called my name for the first time. She wished me a happy lantern festival. Maybe she has some feelings for me too. The moment this thought appeared, it spread like wildfire in my heart, and my heart immediately started pounding like a drum. The University Student Square was only one subway stop away from where we lived, and it only took 7 or 8 minutes to drive. The black Mercedes passed by the Taiyan Xincheng complex where Gu Qinghan lived, but it didn't stop. Instead, it drove a short distance further, looking for a turn where it could make a U-turn. Dr. Gu. I noticed what Gu Qinghan was doing and quickly said, I can just cross the street. Gu Qinghan's pleasant, cold voice rang out in the car. It's fine. 3 short words, yet they caused a ripple in my heart. Very quickly, the black car stopped at the main gate of the Jinggan complex. I unbuckled my seatbelt and placed my hand on the car door. Before opening the door, I finally spoke up. Dr. Gu, do you have a boyfriend? My voice was clear and pleasant, but it was laced with noticeable tension and carried a hint of probing. Gu Qinghan said nothing. Her gaze fell on my face, clearly seeing my clean lips pressed lightly together and a pair of lively round eyes full of expectation. Suddenly, she remembered the moment at the stall in the square when Fang Yuan was wearing a funny hat. Right now, I was like a wary kitten, carefully taking a step forward. That reserved yet slightly bold demeanor silently moved her heart. After a moment, her throat moved slightly, and she replied with 2 words, I don't. Outside, the night was as black as ink. There was no moon, only a few stars like shattered diamonds sprinkled across the sky, giving off a sparkling light. I took a deep breath and spoke again. Then, can I have your contact information? The streetlights in the complex shone brightly, reflecting the dust motes floating in the air. I walked quickly towards the building, a long shadow trailing behind me. Finally opening the door to my home, a wave of warmth hit my face. I took off my thick coat and threw myself onto the soft sofa. The living room was very quiet, the ticking of the clock on. The wall was infinitely amplified. After a while, I sat up, hugging a pillow, took out my phone, and looked at the new contact I had added on WeChat. My bright eyes curved into a soft arc. Her avatar was a simple picture of a snowy mountain, and her name was just the 2 initials Psy. But I stared at it for a long time, and finally, with a smile, changed the contact name to Gu Qinghan. The excitement in my heart was beyond words. I started bombarding Lu Guan with messages again. Tonight, Gu Qinghan and I went to the University Student Square to watch the fireworks together. She drove me home. I got her WeChat. 3 consecutive messages left Lu Guan stunned. Lu Guan, what happened? If my phone didn't show that only a few hours have passed, I would have thought several months had gone by. You and Gu Qinghan have already progressed to the point of going on a private date? I chose to ignore his exaggerated words and recounted what happened tonight after I went to the cafeteria of Provincial Hospital No. 2 to eat. Lu Guan, this plot twist. So, are you planning to pursue Dr. Gu? My finger paused while replying to the message, and I only replied after a few seconds. Yeah, I want to try. The person you fall for at first sight, you'll still fall for them when you meet again. But Lu Guan wasn't moved by my sappiness. He bluntly exposed me. Come on, you just think she's beautiful. I didn't refute it. Gu Qinghan is truly very beautiful. Not only does she have an ethereal beauty, but also a proud, cold aura that warns strangers to stay away. She's completely my ideal type. Although I was mortified in front of her at first and wanted to avoid her at all costs afterward, no matter how I tried to hide, the next time I saw her, I still felt my heart flutter. Besides, even though she seems very cold, she has an unexpected thoughtfulness. The next day, faint sunlight pierced through the mist, and the hazy fog gradually dissipated. The warm sun shone brightly. It was a rare, beautiful sunny day. People came and went in Provincial Hospital Number 2. The quiet hospital gradually became more bustling. Before 8 o'clock, Leah knocked twice perfunctorily, then walked straight into Gu Qinghan's office. His charming peach blossom eyes flashed with a gossipy light, and his tone was languid. "How did it go last night with that male patient? Did you take him home? I created such a good opportunity for you." Gu Qinghan didn't answer. She took off her outer coat and put on her white lab coat. Her noble, languid aura immediately gained a touch of cold detachment. She glanced at him, her tone indifferent. "You have too much free time." Tsk. Leah pouted in dissatisfaction, but he was used to this side of Gu Qinghan. "Fine, don't tell me." After saying that, he pulled out a sweet potato and a clear plastic bag from his pocket and waved it in front of Gu Qinghan. "Roasted sweet potato from the cafeteria, want some?" Gu Qinghan poured some tea leaves into her thermos, answering without looking up. "Get out, it smells!" Leah shot her a glare, walked towards the door, and deliberately raised his voice. "You're really an old cadre who loves tea? Young guys these days all like to drink coffee." As soon as he finished speaking, his figure disappeared from the office doorway. In the office, Gu Qinghan's action of pouring hot water paused. The next second, hot water was poured into the thermos, steam rose, and the fragrance of tea spread. She closed the lid of the thermos, took out her phone, opened WeChat, and among her few contacts, she found Fang Yuan's name. His avatar was a cartoon boy wearing a baseball cap, which looked a lot like him. Gu Qinghan looked at the screen, her expression turning a little gloomy. After becoming WeChat friends last night, they still hadn't messaged each other. Elsewhere, clear sunlight streamed through the window into the room. I finally woke up. I immediately grabbed my phone to check, and the next second, I was hugging my phone, smiling foolishly. I had a nightmare last night, and I thought that becoming WeChat friends with Gu Qinghan last night was also a dream. Luckily, it was real. Thinking this, I opened my chat with Gu Qinghan, looked at it for a moment, and sent a message. "Dr. Gu, good morning." After sending what seemed like a polite message, it was met with silence. I kept checking my phone every few moments. Not until noon did I finally receive a reply from Gu Qinghan. Gu Qinghan. "Busy this morning." 4 simple, clear words with no other response. I stared at the screen. The enthusiasm that had lasted from last night until now felt like it had been doused with cold water. I suddenly thought, Gu Qinghan is a doctor. Her job is very busy. Besides, with her cold personality, she doesn't seem like the type to idly text me during work hours. My impulsive morning greeting seemed like a rude disturbance to her, and now was probably her rare lunch break. For a moment, I looked at our chat screen and suddenly felt a bit lost. At the same time, at Provincial Hospital Number 2, Gu Qinghan saw that, after her message was sent, there was no further reply, and her expression grew even colder. Suddenly, Li Ya's languid voice came from the office doorway. "Gu Qinghan, let's go eat." He leaned against the door, casually massaging his tired shoulder. Seeing Gu Qinghan's slightly gloomy expression, his attitude became a little more serious. "What's wrong? Did you have a difficult patient this morning?" "No." Gu Qinghan stood up, put her phone in her pocket, and walked towards the door, still with that same cold, indifferent look. Li Ya glanced at her expression, not understanding why. Very quickly, his excitement for the cafeteria dispelled Li Ya's suspicions. He said excitedly, "Hurry up. The cafeteria has braised spare ribs today." But Gu Qinghan still walked, at her usual unhurried pace. Before getting into the elevator, she took out her phone and looked at the screen. The next second, the screen was turned off, her thin lips pressed together lightly. The sun was brilliant. It was the hottest time of the day. It was even a bit stuffy indoors with the heater on. I opened all the windows in the house to air it out, then went downstairs to get my food delivery. My cooking skills are average. The food I make is only edible. So when I'm home alone, I either eat instant food or order takeout. Just as I sat at the dining table and opened the food, Lu Guan video called me. As soon as it connected, Lu Guan's face appeared on the screen. Even though he wore a pair of black-rimmed glasses, they couldn't hide his handsome features. "What's up?" Lu Guan was also having lunch and got straight to the point. "Yesterday, you and Gu Qinghan, didn't you have a whirlwind romance and were already on a private date? Did you hit a snag today?" "What private date?" I replied sullenly. "She's too busy, and she's gone back to being cold and indifferent. She's a doctor. It's normal for her work to be busy," Lu Guan said, speaking up for Gu Qinghan. He could see that I really liked Gu Qinghan. After all, this was the first time in years I had taken the initiative to ask for a girl's contact information. And although I am lively and cheerful in front of people I know, like a little son, my personality is actually slow to warm up and sensitive. I worry about everything before I do it, like a little hedgehog that immediately curls up at the first sign of trouble. Even though she's busy, she still replied to you, right? Besides, her personality is naturally cold. You can't expect her to suddenly be passionate. Hearing his words, I imagined a scene of Gu Qinghan being passionate with me and immediately blushed. Fang Xiaoyuan. Lu Guan noticed the change in my expression and smiled mischievously. "Are you thinking about something? That's not suitable for children?" "No, the heater's too hot." Lu Guan teased me a few more times, then hurriedly hung up. I looked at my phone screen and sighed. Lu Guan's family is quite wealthy. He's a second-generation rich kid, but after graduating he was determined to pursue a career in education and continue to shine. As for me, after graduating I became a full-time comic artist, lazing around like a salted fish every day. In Guqinghan, I heard from my cousin Xiao Chusheng before, who gave me the detailed rundown. Not only does she have a high academic degree, but her career prospects are also incredibly bright. Our lives seemed worlds apart. For 3 consecutive days, I didn't message Guqinghan anymore and returned to my previous zen-like existence. It's just that every night before closing my eyes to sleep, Guqinghan's face would unconsciously appear in my mind. The next day was Saturday, and as soon as I woke up, I received a WeChat message from my cousin Xiao Kelian asking for help. I called her directly. The call connected, and I spoke bluntly. "Are you guys elementary school students? Making such a ridiculous bet? Bro, you're like my real brother." From the other end of the phone came a clear female voice carrying an obvious tone of flattery. "I really don't want to have a banner hung up for me. Xiao Kelian is 22 this year, just like her twin brother, who is interning at the hospital. She's about to graduate from university this year, but unlike Xiao Chusheng, who will work after graduation, she was directly admitted to graduate school, so she still has 3 more years of student life. In her younger, more impulsive days, when she had just started university, she and her roommates made a pact that in the last semester of their senior year, whoever was still a single dog, the other roommates could hang a banner at school to help them find a partner. Very unfortunately, just 2 days after the semester started, all her roommates who were no longer single targeted her, a single dog for all 22 years of her life, are eager to hang a banner for her. Xiao Kelian, of course, didn't want a banner hung for her, but for the time being, she couldn't find a suitable guy to get out of her single status, so she thought of me. I have a first love kind of face. I look young, and although I'm 2 years older than her, if you took me out and said I was a university student, absolutely no one would doubt it. Are you sure you want me to pretend to be your boyfriend? I found her suggestion very unreliable and advised her that deception is only temporary, suggesting she just let them hang the banner. Who knows, maybe good romantic luck would come knocking. "No way," Xiao Kelian said in an indignant tone, speaking with conviction. "I'd become the laughingstock of the whole school. It'll take you to meet them once, and after a while, it'll tell them we broke up. As long as I've been in a relationship once, it's fine." Her train of thought is truly incomprehensible. In the end, after her constant pleading, I agreed. The Xiao Kelian siblings and I are close in age. We grew up together since we were kids, so there's some sibling-like affection between us. At Xiao Kelian's request, I tidied myself up a bit, changed into a nice set of clothes, and dressed neatly to go out and save her face. This Jinggan district is a university town, and Xiao Kelian's school, Jianan University, is just 1 bus stop away. It's only a 10-minute or so walk, so I decided to just walk there. As soon as I arrived at the school gate, Xiao Kelian was already waiting there and ran over. She was wearing a white fleece-lined hoodie. She's beautiful, with a tall figure, and has a clean, refreshing aura, along with the vibrant energy typical of a young woman. I scanned her from top to bottom. Honestly, this cousin of mine, whether in terms of figure or appearance, is far above average. Yet I don't know if it's because she's not enlightened yet or just picky, that it's come to the point where she needs me, her older cousin, to come to the rescue. "Brother." Xiao Kelian called out again, fawningly patting my shoulder. "They'll treat you to lunch today." I rolled my eyes. "Let's go. It's best we don't get exposed." I look young, and today I intentionally dressed a bit like a student, so following Xiao Kelian, I didn't face any obstacles entering the school gates. "Where are your roommates?" I admired the scenery on campus, feeling a bit nostalgic. "They're at a seminar. They've already saved us seats. We can just go straight there." "What kind of seminar?" I asked curiously. "Very few seminars are held on a Saturday." Xiao Kelian scratched her head, looking a bit clueless. "I think it's a medical seminar. There are 4 people in her dorm room, besides her, who's a business management major. The other 3 are all medical students. During dorm assignments in their freshman year, her class happened to have 1 extra female student, so she was placed in a room with students from another major. However, attending the seminar today wasn't the main purpose. Taking me to meet her roommates was the top priority. Hearing it was a medical seminar, I suddenly thought of Guqinghan. On my fair face, a trace of sadness flickered. The 2 of us arrived outside the seminar hall. Xiao Kelian led me, expertly sneaking in through the back door. I felt like I was back in my university days, keeping my head down the whole time, feeling a bit guilty like a thief as I followed behind Xiao Kelian. After we were seated, I looked up and clearly saw the person who was presenting on the stage and was instantly stunned. Beside me, Xiao Kelian was showing me off to her 3 roommates. But I suddenly felt as if the world around me went silent and I couldn't hear anything at all. It took a few seconds for my hearing to return to normal. Why is it Guqinghan? Just when I was avoiding her, not knowing how to continue pursuing her, I saw her once again. Hey. Seeing that I wasn't responding to her, Xiao Kelian felt a bit embarrassed and deliberately coughed twice to get my attention. But when she turned her head, she found me staring intently at the lecturer on stage. Xiao Keilian's heart sank. The lecturer on stage was indeed very beautiful, very charming, but he was currently pretending to be her boyfriend. He couldn't mess up at such a crucial moment. Yuan. She lowered her voice and called me, not daring to call me brother. I finally came back to my senses, but my heart felt empty, filled with sadness and loss. At this moment, no matter how slow Xiao Keilian was, she noticed something was off about me. Seeing that her 3 roommates in the front row weren't paying attention, she immediately leaned in and whispered to me, "Brother, what's wrong?" "Nothing. I was just spacing out." I lowered my eyes, my long eyelashes trembling slightly, casting a small fan-shaped shadow on my eyelids. Xiao Keilian didn't think much of it, but still not giving up. She was about to poke, her 3 roommates in the row ahead, eager to prove to the others that she had a boyfriend. "Wait until the seminar is over." I stopped her, my voice soft but firm. "Let's listen to the seminar first." Xiao Keilian was taken aback. Since when was her cousin interested in a medical seminar? Very quickly, she followed my gaze towards Gu Qinghan, who was presenting on stage, and immediately understood. This wasn't an interest in a medical seminar, but an interest in the woman who was presenting the medical seminar. On the stage, the woman's clear and cold voice spread through the microphone, drowning out all the noise in the hall. As if by telepathy, Gu Qinghan on stage looked in the direction where I was sitting. The hall was very large, with seats arranged in tiers. Xiao Keilian and I had snuck in through the back door, so our seats were in the last few rows. Seeing Gu Qinghan's action, my heart tightened and pounded. My seat and Gu Qinghan's podium were very far apart. When I first came in, I could only make out the outline of Gu Qinghan's figure, and it was only through the large screen behind the podium that I could clearly see her magnified face. Knowing that she probably couldn't see my face clearly, the tension in my heart eased a little, but I also felt an indescribable sense of loss. Beside me, Xiao Keilian was still muttering, saying I was ditching her for a pretty face. "Don't talk to me, Xiao Keilian." On the stage, Gu Qinghan didn't need to look at her notes at all. She lectured leisurely, her tone fluent. Suddenly, she paused for a moment, but it was for less than a second, and then she naturally continued her lecture. It's just that her gaze was always fixed in one direction. In my seat, I saw Gu Qinghan staring in this direction and couldn't help but freeze. The next second, I suddenly felt an arm wrap around my shoulder. It was Xiao Keilian. "Old son." Xiao Keilian spoke excitedly. "My boyfriend, isn't he handsome?" A girl with glasses in the front row turned around, shot an annoyed glare at Xiao Keilian, her tone sour. "You little brat, you're so lucky." Then she smiled at me, as a form of greeting. Finally, ignoring Xiao Keilian's smug expression, she turned back to continue listening to the lecture. Everything happened very quickly. Before I could even react, Xiao Keilian had already pulled her arm back and leaned in to whisper in my ear again. Hey, I finally scored 1 against that little wench. Thank you, brother." On the large screen behind the podium, Gu Qinghan's brow furrowed imperceptibly, her expression growing even colder. A few seconds later, she shifted her gaze away. During the second half of the seminar, I didn't hear a single word. My mind was just a chaotic mess. All sorts of scenes flashed through my mind, jumbled and out of order. Sometimes it was in the dimly lit bar, Gu Qinghan in a black coat, drinking with a cold demeanor. Sometimes it was on the crowded square, Gu Qinghan with a gentle expression, wishing me a happy lantern festival. Other times it was the 4-word reply, on my phone screen, cold and distant, busy in the morning. All kinds of memories intertwined, tearing me apart. Until the seminar ended, I couldn't sort things out, still lost in confusion and sadness. It was Xiao Keilian who snapped me out of it. Yuan, the seminar is over." Her arm was around my shoulder again, her face showing a gentle and attentive look. I came back to my senses, just in time to see 3 heads in the row in front of us turn around. The 3 girls all wore glasses and were staring at me. I have a first love kind of face, fair skin, delicate eyebrows, a pair of clear round eyes, a high straight nose, and pale lips, which when combined exude a bit of charm within my delicate features. Today I even dressed up on purpose and immediately captured the hearts of these female students. "Old Xiao, you're not bad. Is he really your boyfriend? You managed to find such a handsome boyfriend?" "Hey, handsome, were you tricked into this?" The 3 roommates of Xiao Keilian made no effort to hide their jealousy and admiration for Xiao Keilian. Xiao Keilian put her arm around my shoulder, her expression proud. "No hanging a banner for your mommy here. This lady has a boyfriend now." I reacted slowly, my body stiff, letting Xiao Keilian hold me. But my eyes couldn't help but search. Gu Qinghan had finished her lecture, and to my surprise, I found that she had stepped onto the central stairs and was walking in this direction. Xiao Keilian noticed I was distracted, and the hand she had on my shoulder couldn't help but squeeze a little harder. I turned to look at her. Xiao Keilian gave me a look and again put her roommates down a peg. "Let's treat these nieces to lunch today. In our dorm, whoever gets a partner has to treat the roommates to a meal. It's a tradition." Although I was looking at Xiao Keilian, my mind was completely focused on Gu Qinghan, who was getting closer and closer to me. I mumbled a 2-word reply. As for Xiao Keilian, her mind was filled with the desire to prove to her roommates that she was no longer single, and she didn't notice anything unusual about me. The students in the hall stood up one by one to leave, obstructing my view. After a few seconds, I found that the distance between me and Gu Qinghan was very short. I could even see her slightly pursed thin lips. I immediately averted my gaze and stood up abruptly. "Keilian, I'm not feeling well. I'm leaving first." After speaking, without waiting for Xiao Keilian to reply and ignoring her roommate's reactions, I grabbed my bag and merged with the crowd heading for the back door. Xiao Keilian was stunned. Why did her cousin suddenly bail like this? It was one of her roommates who reminded her, showing some perceptiveness. Your boyfriend isn't feeling well. Aren't you going to go check on him? Xiao Keilian thought I was really unwell, and a trace of worry appeared on her face as she hurriedly chased after me. Neither she nor her roommates noticed that while they were talking, the woman who had just given the lecture was standing in the aisle next to them, pausing for 2 seconds. This afternoon, the sun was high in the sky, the sunlight warm. I left the lecture hall and followed the same path I took to get in. I had only walked a short distance when Xiao Keilian caught up with me. Brother Yuan, what's wrong? I kept my head down, feeling a bit down. Nothing. Xiao Keilian didn't believe me at all. My demeanor just now didn't look like nothing was wrong. She racked her brain, thinking, was it? Because my roommates were speaking carelessly just now, that made you unhappy? We're normally like that, don't mind them? It's not that. I was afraid Xiao Keilian and her roommates would have a conflict, so I denied it directly. Maybe it was just now in the crowded and stuffy hall. I felt a bit uncomfortable. I'm fine now. Xiao Keilian saw that my complexion had indeed returned to normal and breathed a sigh of relief. Her father dotes on me, his nephew. If something really happened to me, he might just wring her neck. As my senses gradually returned, I realized that I had left in such a hurry just to avoid Gu Qinghan. Remembering the main purpose of today, I opened my mouth to ask, what about your roommates? You can go back first, it's fine. Now that I know you're okay, Xiao Keilian's mood became cheerful again. They already believe you're my boyfriend. I'll just treat them to a meal tonight. Let me take you to eat first. Do you want to eat out or go to the cafeteria? Our school cafeteria is really good too. Listening to my cousin's chattering voice, I gradually calmed down. I fled in a panic just now because I was very sure that Gu Qinghan had seen me. Our eyes met for less than a second, and I fled in panic. I don't know how to face her. As time passed, the days before the Lantern Festival, when we watched the fireworks together, seemed as beautiful as a dream. The reality is that I don't have the courage to disturb her life anymore. Our way of contact is like the intersection of 2 straight lines. After crossing, they just get farther and farther apart. After a cheap and tasty lunch at the cafeteria, my cousin walked me to the school gate. Brother Yuan, Xiao Keilian suddenly seemed a bit embarrassed as she called my name. What is it? It's just about what happened today. Can you not tell Xiao Chusheng? Xiao Keilian pleaded. The two are twins. If Xiao Chusheng found out, he would definitely laugh his head off at her and then use this weakness to do whatever he wanted to her. Xiao Keilian's expression was too pitiful. I gave her a sympathetic glance. I promise. After leaving Jianan University, I didn't take the bus but walked all the way back, texting Lu Guan as I walked. I saw Gu Qinghan again today. I feel like there's no hope for me and her anymore. Before long, Lu Guan's reply appeared at the top of my phone screen. Lu Guan, I briefly told him what happened this morning. Lu Guan, so you ignored Dr. Gu for 3 days, and then today you went to pretend to be your cousin's boyfriend and happened to be seen by Dr. Gu? That's right. Lu Guan was amazed. This is too dramatic. Why don't you just tell Gu Qinghan directly that you went with your cousin to see her seminar this morning and that it was excellent? I hesitated for 2 seconds, but I ran away right in front of her. Lu Guan, very good. You've perfectly demonstrated the meaning of a guilty conscience needs no accuser. Yes, a guilty conscience. Yuan, put the phone away. In the afternoon, Gu Qinghan returned to the hospital, still in her neat and clean white coat with a navy blue shirt underneath. The shirt collar was buttoned to the top. Her whole being exuded a serious and meticulous aura. She had to do her patient rounds in the afternoon. A few resident doctors and nurses had already been waiting at her office door for a while. Seeing her come out, they quickly said, Dr. Gu. Gu Qinghan nodded, her expression indifferent. Everyone was long accustomed to her distant and cold demeanor and waited seriously for the upcoming rounds. Very quickly, as evening approached, the rounds were over. Gu Qinghan stood in the hallway talking to the resident doctors and nurses, giving instructions on issues found during the rounds. But her appearance was too striking, even with a cold face and a whole aura that screamed, strangers, stay away. She still made people turn their heads constantly. Gu Qinghan sensed the scrutinizing gazes, frowned slightly, and put on a mask. A few minutes later, after giving her instructions, the resident doctors and nurses dispersed. Outsiders only saw Gu Qinghan's superior beauty, but they felt more of her strict work requirements, and basically didn't want to interact much with Gu Qinghan. The orange sunset from outside shone through the window into the hallway, casting light on the shiny, reflective floor tiles. Gu Qinghan glanced at it once before looking away, her deep black eyes filled with coldness. She had only taken a few steps when a stylishly dressed young man with a blushing face blocked her path. Dr. Gu, may I have your contact information? Gu Qinghan stopped, her delicate brows filled with aloofness. Sorry, it's not convenient. After speaking, she walked around, the person in front of her, and continued on her way. At an office door not far away, Li Ya leaned lazily against the wall, a clear, teasing look on his face. Obviously, he had seen the previous scene. Sure enough, as soon as Gu Qinghan walked over, he couldn't wait to start teasing her. As expected of Dr. Gu, the #1 rejecter of advances. Are you very free? Entering the office, Gu Qinghan took off her mask, revealing that excessively beautiful face. Under the bright lights, her delicate eyebrows looked even colder, her expression indifferent. She looked up, her cold, dark eyes looking towards Leah. Their eyes met for just a second, and Leah was the first to lose. What's with you these days? Did you hit a snag or get your heart broken? You've been as cold as ice all day. Before Gu Qinghan could answer, he answered his own question. That's not right. It can't be heartbreak. You've never been in love. As he finished speaking, Gu Qinghan's expression darkened slightly, recalling when she walked past those female students in the morning and overheard their words. She pressed her thin lips together, her expression growing even colder. Seeing her like this, Leah had an unbelievable suspicion rise in his heart. My God, no way. Did you really get your heart broken? When did you start secretly dating behind my back? Did the other person finally get fed up with your cold face and dump you? Gu Qinghan frowned at him, her eyes narrowing slightly, flashing with a hint of danger. Get out. Realizing he had overacted, Leah gave a forced laugh. Seeing that Gu Qinghan was genuinely angry, he hurriedly left the office. After walking a short distance, Leah couldn't help but take out his phone again and quietly sent a voice message to their three-person group chat. Hey, sisters. Gu Qinghan was left alone in the office. She lowered her eyes to her phone screen, at the cartoon avatar wearing a baseball cap, her expression pensive. A moment later, she turned off the phone screen. Night fell, the grayish-black sky still held the last streak of a dark red sunset. Just as Gu Qinghan arrived at the hospital parking lot, a white Mercedes next to her suddenly honked. The next second, the car window rolled down and Li Ya's handsome face appeared in the window. His charming eyes narrowed slightly, filled with a smile. Dr. Gu, want to go for a drink? Drown your sorrows in alcohol when you're heartbroken. You have tomorrow morning off anyway. Gu Qinghan's cold gaze swept over him and then retracted. She replied coolly with 2 words. Not going. Hey, Li Ya said hurriedly. Akian and Haozi are going too. It's rare for everyone to be free. Let's get together. Gu Qinghan, Suqian, and Yun Wan had been close friends since childhood, while Li Ya and Gu Qinghan were high school classmates. Later, Li Ya shamelessly wormed his way into Gu Qinghan's circle of close friends. In the early evening, he had secretly gone into the group chat with only Suqian and Yun Wan and sent the message, Gu Qinghan is heartbroken. The two of them didn't believe it, because since they were young, Gu Qinghan had lived detached from worldly affairs, not getting close to men, so it was fundamentally impossible for her to be in a relationship, let alone be heartbroken. But Li Ya swore on his honor that Gu Qinghan was definitely heartbroken, so he didn't hesitate to make a bet with Suqian and them. Last time they went to the bar, Akian was on a business trip in Jingxi. Today's outing was arranged by him. Li Ya tried his best to persuade Gu Qinghan, but he didn't dare mention their bet. Gu Qinghan didn't answer, getting into her Mercedes, and only gave the address a few seconds later. Li Ya breathed a sigh of relief and slowly started his car. Follow me. A minute later, 2 cars, one white and one black, left the hospital parking lot one after the other. Jingen Garden. I had just woken up and was now sitting dazedly on my bed with sleepy eyes. Whenever I'm in a bad mood, my way of dealing with it is to sleep. A minute later, I finally came to my senses and took out my phone to order takeout. Suddenly, Lu Guan's name appeared on my phone screen, accompanied by a piercing ringtone. Yuan Yuan, come out for a drink. As soon as the call connected, Lu Guan's clear voice came through. I just got off work and I'm about to go eat with a friend. You should come too. Hearing that there would be someone else, I listlessly refused. No thanks, I'll order takeout. I don't want to go out. I'm quite introverted and I don't like being with people I don't know. Lu Guan obviously knew this and immediately said, You know my friend, it's a Xiao. A Xiao's name is Xiao Xiao, his Lu Guan's colleague, also a high school English teacher. I had met him a few times before, so I was quite familiar with him, but after hesitating for a few seconds, I still refused. I don't want to go. I feel like today isn't a good day to go out. I remembered I had been home for 3 days, and the one time I went out this morning, I ran into Gu Qinghan. Lu Guan fell silent. After hanging up, I ordered some takeout. The night outside had completely fallen. The thick darkness was lit up by the city lights. After Gu Qinghan parked her car, she and Li Ya walked into the restaurant in front of them. As soon as they entered, Gu Qinghan instinctively frowned. The restaurant was a music restaurant, blasting loud rock music. Moreover, because it was the weekend, it was especially crowded, a scene of noisy chaos. Akian said she couldn't book a private room, so we're sitting in the main hall. Li Ya glanced at his phone and gave Gu Qinghan an ingratiating smile. He knew Gu Qinghan didn't like such noisy and crowded environments. Gu Qinghan pressed her lips together slightly and said nothing. The two were led by a waiter to a table in the corner of the hall. On the booth side of the table sat 2 young women with outstanding looks. One was gentle and elegant, the other beautiful and charming, a Qinghan. Yunwan saw the two of them, quickly called out, then without hesitation, sold Li Ya out. Li Xiaoer said, You're heartbroken. Is it true or not? As she finished speaking, Gu Qinghan tilted her head to look at Li Ya. Her calm, dark eyes carried a pressure that was hard to ignore. Li Ya gave a forced laugh and defended himself. The way you were this afternoon, it's hard not to make people suspicious. Gu Qinghan's expression darkened, her voice cold. Spreading rumors is illegal. All right. Su Qian, who had been silent until now, suddenly chuckled twice, her voice gentle. A Ya is never serious. Don't mind him. The 4 of them sat in 2 rows. Li Ya glared fiercely at Yunwan across from him. Yunwan guiltily touched her nose, pretending not to see. It was Li Ya who insisted Gu Qinghan was heartbroken. She was just too curious, so she asked. Sukian paid no attention to the two of them and spoke to Gu Qinghan. Has your hospital been busy lately? You seem a little tired. Even though she was her best friend, Gu Qinghan's reply was still brief and concise. Not busy. Her fatigue wasn't from work. This quarter's dividends have been transferred to your card, Sukian continued. She opened an investment firm, and when she was just starting out, Gu Qinghan had invested a large sum of money in her company. She said it was a loan, but Sukian directly considered Gu Qinghan a shareholder of the company. Later, when the company got on track, she paid dividends to Gu Qinghan every quarter. Gu Qinghan nodded. Okay. Li Ya and Yunwan, listening on the side to the two of them talk about work, both felt a little antsy, wanting to ask Gu Qinghan about her love life, but they both signaled to each other with their eyes, not daring to speak first. Suddenly, Li Ya looked in a certain direction, his lazy voice carrying a hint of surprise. Isn't that the friend of that male patient of Qinghan's? I think his name is Lu Guan. Why isn't that Feng Yuan guy with him today? He emphasized the two words, male patient, full of hidden meaning. Yunwan across from him also immediately gave an understanding smile. The reaction of the two piqued Sukian's curiosity. Which male patient? Li Ya immediately embellished the story, recounting Feng Yuan's identity, then turned to look at Gu Qinghan, only to find her expression had turned even colder. Boyfriend? In the depths of Gu Qinghan's eyes, emotions swirled. She suddenly picked up the glass of wine on the table and took a sip. When she spoke again, her cold voice was tinged with a bit of hoarseness. Don't joke like this in the future. Her words were like a clap of thunder, leaving everyone utterly stunned. They were all Gu Qinghan's closest friends, and they understood her. Her behavior clearly showed she had some feelings for that male patient. Boyfriend? Li Ya was no longer in the mood to tease Gu Qinghan and said hurriedly, No way! Wasn't he still on a blind date a few days ago? Gu Qinghan didn't answer. A small, self-deprecating smile tugged at the corner of her lips, and she drained the glass of wine in her hand. She spoke, her voice extremely low. Yes, so fast. Everyone heard her words. The faint smile on Sukian's lips had long since vanished, and Li Ya and Yunwan looked at each other in bewilderment. Gu Qinghan had always been reserved and cold, rarely having such moments of emotional vulnerability. On the other side of the restaurant, having dinner, Lu Guan also saw Gu Qinghan and her friends. After all, 4 exceptionally beautiful women sitting at one table, it was hard not to attract attention. He took out his phone and secretly took a picture, then sent me a message. I ran into Gu Qinghan and her friends. It's a huge loss that you didn't come, and immediately sent the candid photo as well. Jingan Garden. When I received the message, I had just opened the takeout box. The barbecue I ordered was emitting a tempting aroma into the air, but I suddenly lost my appetite. On the phone screen was the photo Lu Guan had just sent. Because the distance was a bit far, plus it was a candid shot, it looked a little blurry, but I still recognized Gu Qinghan immediately. With her friends, her expression was a little less cold and a little more gentle. She still maintained her elegant appearance, and there was a glass of wine on the table in front of her. In my clear, round eyes, a flash of sadness passed. After I left Jianan University in the morning, I didn't dare to message Gu Qinghan. But Gu Qinghan also didn't initiate contact with me. Perhaps she didn't mind? In the restaurant, seeing that the message had been sent a while ago, and Fang Yuan hadn't replied, Lu Guan sighed. What's wrong? Gui Boxiao, sitting opposite him, asked a question, teasing him. You just secretly took a picture of those beautiful girls at the other table. Who do you have a crush on? Lu Guan said, annoyed. It's not me, but he didn't mention Fang Yuan's situation, and proactively changed the subject. In the corner, Li Ya and the others were very quiet, watching blankly as Gu Qinghan poured another glass of wine. After a long while, Sukian reached out and snatched Gu Qinghan's wine glass. Her lips curled, her gentle eyes mixed with a hint of gloom. Do you really like him that much? Just win him back. Among the 4 of them, it seemed Gu Qinghan's personality was the most indifferent, but she was also the most principled. Although Sukian had the best temperament, she had been in the business world for a long time and had seen too many schemes and plots, so as long as she wanted to, she could use any means to get it. As soon as these words were spoken, Li Ya and Yunwan immediately chimed in. That's right, they've only been together for a few days, their feelings can't be that strong. As long as you wield your hoe well, there's no corner you can't dig up. Gu Qinghan said nothing. She gently closed her eyes. Remembering when his ears turned red, his slightly shy appearance appeared in her mind again. She did indeed have some feelings for him, but now that he has a girlfriend, she couldn't do something that violated her morals. A few seconds later, she opened her eyes, the clarity returning to them, her clear voice rang out. Let's drop it. Very quickly, another 2 days passed. In the morning, I received a message from my youngest uncle, Fang Ming, telling me to go get stewed pork knuckles for my cousin, Xiao Chusheng. I love stewed pork knuckles the most, and my youngest uncle, Fang Ming, has always doted on me. Last night he specially stewed a big pot of pork knuckles for me. Not wanting to refuse Fang Ming's kindness, I immediately messaged Xiao Chusheng and received a reply more than 10 minutes later. Xiao Chusheng, Brother Yuan, I'm busy this morning. Can you come to the hospital to get it? Xiao Chusheng. If you don't want to go out, I can bring it to you tonight after work. I knew Xiao Chusheng was very busy with his internship at the hospital and had to rotate through departments to learn, so I replied, I'll go to the hospital to get it. I won't trouble you. A few seconds later, I asked again, which department are you interning in recently? This time, Xiao Chusheng replied very quickly, cardiothoracic surgery. I stared at the 4 words cardiothoracic surgery, and it took me a few seconds to reply with a single word. Okay. I quickly changed my clothes and went out without any makeup. Since it was past 9 in the morning, there were very few people on the subway, and I easily found a seat. More than half an hour later, I got off at the provincial number 2 hospital station. The hospital was still bustling with people, everyone in a hurry. I sighed and took the elevator to the floor of the cardiothoracic surgery department. At the nurse's station, Xiao Chusheng saw my figure, gave an apologetic smile to the head nurse, and then hurried over. The pork knuckles are in the break room. I'll take you to get them. I nodded. Seeing that he was in a bit of a hurry, I also unconsciously quickened my pace. In the hallway, Li Ya had just finished his rounds. As he looked up, he happened to see me waiting at the door of the break room. He narrowed his charming eyes, a dark glint flashing in their depths. Brother, Xiao Chusheng handed me the bag with the lunchbox. I took it, felt its weight, and curled my lips. So much. Didn't youngest uncle keep any for himself? Xiao Chusheng. My dad stewed a big pot. After a few more words, Xiao Chusheng still had work to do. The two of them parted ways at the break room door, heading in different directions. Soon, my back disappeared into the elevator. As soon as Xiao Chusheng returned to the nurse's station, he saw Li Ya leaning against the counter, staring at him, smiling charmingly. Li Ya said nonchalantly, Who was that young man just now? Your friend? Xiao Chusheng looked at his overly handsome face, and his ears quietly turned red. My cousin came to pick something up. Li Ya raised an eyebrow, a flash of surprise in his eyes. He's quite good looking. Does he have a girlfriend? As he finished, Xiao Chusheng shook his head. My cousin doesn't have a girlfriend. He hesitated for a few seconds, then said carefully, Dr. Li, although my cousin doesn't have a girlfriend, he's not into guys like you either. When Leah heard the words doesn't have a girlfriend, the smile on his face froze for a moment. He didn't mind the belittling remark that Xiao Chusheng made afterwards. He deliberately drew out his words, his lazy tone carrying a hint of teasing. Maybe your cousin secretly got a girlfriend and just didn't tell you. Xiao Chusheng was a little displeased, feeling that Li Ya was being provocative. That's not it. My cousin really doesn't have a girlfriend. At this moment, the call bell at the nurse's station rang. He picked up the tray next to him. Dr. Li, I have to go change a patient's dressing now. Watching his departing figure, a thoughtful expression appeared on Li Ya's face. He took out his phone and messaged Gu Qinghan. Li Ya, I just saw Fang Yuan in the cardiothoracic surgery department. He came to find his cousin. Li Ya, his cousin is a male nurse intern in the department. A minute later, he received a reply from Gu Qinghan. Gu Qinghan, Mum. Li Ya looked at her message, narrowed his charming eyes, the corners of his lips curling into a meaningful smile, and sent another message. Fang Yuan's cousin said he doesn't have a girlfriend. This time, after the message was sent, there was no reply for a long time. At the same time, the office of the deputy head of the orthopedics department, Gu Qinghan, had put away her phone. She looked at the English documents on the computer screen, but not a single word registered. Suddenly, a faint smile appeared on her elegant face. The smile was fleeting, as quick as an illusion. I carried the lunchbox out of the hospital and stood at the entrance of the subway station, suddenly turning my head back to look in the direction of provincial number 2 hospital. Through the weaving traffic, I couldn't see clearly. I didn't run into Gu Qinghan on this visit to provincial number 2 hospital. I should have been happy, but for some reason, there was an indescribable disappointment in my heart. She and I will probably really become strangers from now on. I couldn't help but think. Nearing evening, a pale pink afterglow dyed half the sky. A ray of the evening sun shone through the glass window into the office, casting a layer of soft light on Gu Qinghan's delicate cheekbones. She lifted her eyes to look at the time on the computer screen, then stood up and took off her white coat. Just as she put on her jacket, there was a knock on the door. Li Ya pushed the office door open directly, grinning at her. Dr. Gu, you're off work? Shouldn't you treat me to a meal? Gu Qinghan didn't refuse, her voice clear. The cafeteria. Li Ya rolled his eyes. Stingy. After saying that, his beautiful, flirtatious eyes narrowed slightly, and he deliberately drew out his words. A young man wouldn't like an old auntie who only treats him to the cafeteria. Gu Qinghan glanced at him, her expression still indifferent. Are you the young man? Li Ya and she left the office together. Along the way, their outstanding looks attracted quite a few people who stopped to stare. Gu Qinghan didn't look left or right the entire time, beautiful but cold, exuding a cold aura that warned strangers to stay away. As for Li Ya, he was as proud as a peacock. Entering the cafeteria, the air was filled with the aroma of various foods, lively and noisy. Li Ya took Gu Qinghan's meal card without hesitation, deciding to take a look around the cafeteria, determined to run up a restaurant-sized bill in the cafeteria, and trying to order cafeteria food at a restaurant's price. Gu Qinghan couldn't be bothered with him, bought a normal meal for herself, and found a less crowded spot. Just as she sat down, her phone vibrated once and the ringtone sounded. She looked at the screen, and the coldness between her brows melted away a little. Brother, Gu Qinghan answered the phone. Gu's voice on the other end was pleasantly lazy. Are you off tomorrow? Yes, I am. Then come over tomorrow morning and pick up Song Nian. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day, and your sister-in-law and I want some time to ourselves, Gu Li said bluntly. You don't have a boyfriend anyway, so you don't need to celebrate Valentine's Day. Gu Qinghan's hand holding the phone tightened unconsciously, her brows furrowing imperceptibly. She only responded after 2 seconds. Okay. Gu Li was very satisfied, but he didn't forget to urge Gu Qinghan. You're already 30 this year. You should start thinking about your personal love life. Do you really want to be a single old auntie? Listening to his nagging voice, Gu Qinghan rubbed the space between her eyebrows, feeling a slight headache, her indifferent voice tinged with a bit of helplessness. Brother, I'm 29 this year. My birthday hasn't passed yet. As for my love life, I'm not in a hurry. Not in a hurry. Gu Li knew his sister very well, so hearing her say that, he immediately pressed her. Is there a guy who's caught your eye? What does he look like? How old is he this year? What's his job? What stage are you two at now? Also, didn't you used to want others to think of you as more mature? Why are you suddenly so concerned about age? Is the guy you're interested in younger than you? Gu Qinghan. Brother, I have something to do. I'm hanging up now. She hung up the phone without any hesitation. As soon as Gu Qinghan looked up, she saw Li Ya, who had returned at some point, carrying 2 trays of food in his hands, piled high. Can you eat all of this? Li Ya said nonchalantly. I can take the leftovers home. Was that brother Gu Li who called you just now? Gu Lei is 3 years older than Gu Qinghan and has had the air of a big brother since they were young, so her childhood friends, like them also, willingly accepted him as their big brother. Yeah. Gu Qinghan reverted to her taciturn self. Don't tell me he asked you to look after his dog for him tomorrow? Li Ya's guess was spot on. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day. You happen to be off? You could ask Fang Yuan out to a movie, have a meal or something. What a great opportunity. Gu Qinghan's hand holding her chopsticks paused, then quickly returned to normal. You shouldn't be a doctor. Li Ya, what do you mean? The matchmaking profession probably suits you better. Li Ya, how ungrateful. Besides, people don't say female matchmaker anymore. They're just called matchmakers now. You're so old-fashioned and behind the times. Jinggan Garden. I rubbed my slightly sore wrist and walked out of the study. I've been too lazy these past few days, so I spent the whole afternoon rushing to draw my manuscript. I went to the dining room to pour a glass of water, and my eyes caught the vase on the dining table. The pink tulip inside was about to wilt. I put down the glass of water, took the tulip out of the vase, and threw it in the trash. I bought this flower a few days ago at the flower shop by the apartment complex gate, and this morning when I passed the flower shop on my way back, it was filled with roses prepared for tomorrow's Valentine's Day. So I decided not to buy a new flower. I took out my phone and sent a text message. Less than a minute later, a jarring ringtone sounded. Answering the call, my gentle voice carried a hint of careful flattery. My dearest father, Father Fang Sheng, was not fooled by this trick at all. What is it? Dad, tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Can I come home to celebrate with you and Mom? I whined. Ever since the blind date with Xiao Xiaobi went nowhere, I haven't dared to go back to Chunhua Courtyard, let alone call Father Fang. No need, Father Fang said irritably. It's Valentine's Day. You should find a lover to celebrate with. Also, your mother and I have work tomorrow. After work, we're going out to follow you kids' trend for once. Watch a movie and have dinner. Don't come home and bother us. Seeing you just annoys me. After saying that, he hung up without hesitation. Very good. Our father-son relationship has come to an end. The next day, I slept until I woke up naturally, lay in bed for a while, and then happily decided to give myself a day off. But just after I finished breakfast, I received a message from Lu Guan on my phone. Lu Guan. Bro, it's Valentine's Day. Lu Guan, I want to drink milk tea. I immediately sent a red envelope over, but Lu Guan didn't accept it and continued to send messages. I want to drink the new product from Chase. Anticipation. JPG Chase is a very famous milk tea brand in Jianan. What's more famous is that they don't do delivery. If you want to drink it, you can only go to the store and buy it. I hesitated a little, but then I thought about how Lu Guan not only doesn't have a girlfriend, but also has to work on a holiday like this, making him a bit more miserable than me, so I agreed. I replied, I'll go buy it and bring it to the school gate for you. Lu Guan. Bro, love you. Putting my phone away, I went out immediately. As soon as I stepped out of the apartment complex, seeing couple after couple smiling sweetly, I immediately regretted it. I took out my phone and directly searched for the nearest Chase milk tea shop and hailed a taxi. On a holiday like this, the subway would definitely have even more couples. I'd rather spend a few extra bucks than suffer another blow. Very quickly, the taxi stopped at the entrance of a shopping mall. I got out and went straight to the milk tea shop on the second floor, saw that a line had already started forming outside the shop, and I hurried over as well. At the same time, in the children's play area on the third floor of the shopping mall, Gu Qinghan looked at the child playing inside, who was playing so absorbedly they'd forgotten everything else, and on her refined face, a serious expression appeared. Song Nian. After a moment, the little girl in a lamb dress reluctantly put down the toy in her hand and ran over on her short little legs. Auntie, I'm thirsty. Gu Qinghan bent down and picked her up. Let's go buy a drink. Taking the escalator down to the second floor, Song Nian saw the shop with the long line for milk tea and immediately stretched out her hand to point. Auntie, I want to drink that. Although she was young, she wasn't stupid. A shop with so many people lining up must be very good. Gu Qinghan looked in the direction she pointed, her gaze indifferent. Milk tea isn't healthy. Song Nian pouted, but knew that her aunt always meant what she said, so she had to quietly snuggle into her arms. Suddenly, she discovered that her aunt was carrying her towards the milk tea shop. She poked her head out curiously. Auntie, Gu Qinghan glanced at the familiar figure in the line at the milk tea shop, her indifferent eyes tinged with a bit of warmth. The line at the milk tea shop was very long, and since it was Valentine's Day, even though it was a work day, there were still quite a few couples around. I played on my phone for a while, and listened to a couple in line behind me, constantly whispering, and turned off my screen in slight annoyance. After waiting for another 10 minutes or so, it was finally my turn. Looking at the new product introduction at the counter, I directly ordered 6 cups. The extra cups could be for Lu Guan, to share with his close colleagues. The staff behind the counter placed the order on the computer and said politely, "Hello, that'll be 120 yuan in total." Okay. I tapped on my phone screen, and the next second, my eyes widened in shock. My phone was locked. My phone has a fingerprint unlock setting. The unlock sensor is on the back of the phone, and there have been a few times before when my finger accidentally touched the sensor, the fingerprint didn't match, and then the phone locked itself. Looking at the words on the screen, "Please try again in 2 hours, 30 minutes, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Hello? You can just scan the code to pay." Seeing that I wasn't moving, the staff politely reminded me again. Before I could even speak, the couple in line behind me impatiently urged, "Hurry up, there's still a line behind you." "Sorry, my phone is locked." My face turned bright red, I said in embarrassment. "Can the milk tea I just ordered be cancelled?" Normally in my bag, I also keep some cash, but the bag I'm wearing today happens to be a new one, and I haven't had time to put money in it yet. The staff heard what I said and looked a bit troubled. Just as they were about to say something, they saw a cold-looking woman holding a little girl walk up next to me. "Scan mine." Gu Qinghan's voice was clear as she handed over her phone. The staff's doubtful gaze swept towards me. As for me, after hearing the familiar cold voice, I first couldn't believe it, then turned my head and saw it was indeed Gu Qinghan, and became even more embarrassed, my ears burning hot. Why do I always run into Gu Qinghan at such embarrassing moments? "Dr. Gu." My voice was as quiet as a mosquito's buzz as I hesitantly called out her name. Seeing that the two knew each other, the staff didn't hesitate anymore and directly scanned Gu Qinghan's phone. The milk tea was made quickly. The staff glanced at me and handed the packaged milk tea to Gu Qinghan. "Let's go." Gu Qinghan casually took the milk tea, and after turning around, she gave the couple behind me a light glance. Her deep, dark eyes flashed with a cold light. The couple unnaturally avoided her gaze, not daring to make a peep. Leaving the milk tea shop's line, even the surrounding air felt fresher. But I felt even more unnatural, dazedly following behind Gu Qinghan. Arriving at a less crowded area, Gu Qinghan stopped walking and put Song Nian, who was in her arms, down on the ground. "Auntie," the little girl called out softly, then turned her curious gaze towards me, her big round eyes sparkling with a gossipy light. It was only then that I realized Gu Qinghan had been holding a little girl in her arms all along. Just now, my entire attention was focused on her. I lowered my eyes and met Song Nian's gaze. She was about 4 or 5 years old, wearing an exquisite lamb dress, her eyes big and round, her small chubby face fair and soft, looking cute and well-behaved. "Hello," I greeted Song Nian. Song Nian's big round eyes blinked, and she suddenly spoke. "Mister, are you my auntie's boyfriend?" My dad said, "Women only proactively pay for their boyfriends." I was so startled that I hurriedly waved my hands, my cheeks flushing red, and I stammered, No, I'm not, Song Nian." A slightly stern female voice sounded. It was Gu Qinghan. Hearing this, the little girl pouted and then said to me with a serious face, "Mister, you better not be my auntie's boyfriend. She's very fierce." Song Nian. Gu Qinghan's face darkened. Just as she opened her mouth, she heard the little girl say adeptly, "Auntie, I was wrong." After saying that, she turned her eyes towards me, pleading for help. "Are kids these days this quick-witted?" "Dr. Gu," I said, a little embarrassed. "She's still young. Don't hold it against her." Hearing me say that, Gu Qinghan's tightly pressed lips relaxed a little, and her gaze fell on me. A slender figure, half a head taller than her, wearing a white shirt, dressed like a student. His short black hair was casually styled, slightly fluffy, adding a touch of delicate charm. Those doe eyes were still clear and pure. Sensing Gu Qinghan looking at me, I nervously fidgeted with my hands, my fair cheeks tinged with a faint pink. Gu Qinghan averted her gaze, her indifferent brows tinged with a bit of gentleness. "You take the milk tea." I was stunned, and quickly reached out to take it. So much milk tea, it was indeed very heavy to carry, but Gu Qinghan leaned slightly, avoiding my outstretched hand, and said in a calm tone, "Let me carry it for now." I dejectedly retracted my hand. Ever since that day I texted her on WeChat, the two of us hadn't talked on WeChat again. And at Jianan University, I ran away right in front of her. This chance encounter was even more awkward. Perhaps the two of us really weren't fated to be. I was a bit discouraged, hesitated for a few seconds, then mustered up my courage and spoke. "Dr. Gu, do you have any cash? Could you lend me 100 yuan? I'll pay you back later on my phone, along with the money for the milk tea." As soon as I finished speaking, I was met with a prolonged silence. I don't have cash. Gu Qinghan remained calm and composed, her clear voice full of magnetism. Where do you want to go? I can give you a ride. I opened my mouth to refuse when a childish voice suddenly sounded by my ear. Mister, my auntie is very free today. A little girl who had been eavesdropping with her ears perked up on the conversation between the two, Song Neon chimed in and wheedled at me. Dad says my auntie is a single dog. Her only task today is to take good care of me. Then I'll have to trouble you, Dr. Gu. I hesitated for a few seconds but still agreed. My phone was locked for over 2 hours, and Gu Qinghan didn't have any cash to lend me. Unless I waited for more than 2 hours for my phone to unlock, I would be stranded. Okay. The corners of Gu Qinghan's lips curved up slightly, then quickly fell back down. The two of them, with a child in tow, took the elevator to the mall's underground parking lot. Gu Qinghan went to the passenger side door of the car first, opened the car door, and her gaze fell on me. You sit in the front. Kids are noisy. I was stunned for 2 seconds, saw Song Neon puffing her cheeks, and suppressed the urge to laugh. Okay. These two expose each other's faults and criticize each other. Auntie? Song Neon said in a dissatisfied tone. Seeing that I was already in the car, she beckoned to Gu Qinghan, her tone a little smug. I know your secret. Gu Qinghan frowned and leaned down. The little girl lowered her voice. Auntie, you were lying just now. The black car drove out of the mall's underground parking lot, and it was extremely quiet inside the car. I secretly glanced through the rearview mirror to observe Gu Qinghan, who was driving. Her features were deep-set, her brow bone exquisite, but she exuded a cold, distant feeling. I looked twice, then sadly averted my gaze. In the back seat, Song Nian's big round eyes darted around, occasionally letting out a couple of secret giggles. Just now, Gu Qinghan had agreed to buy her a new toy as hush money, because she knew her aunt had a wallet with cash inside, but her aunt had just lied. Mister. She started a conversation with me. What's your name? After speaking, without waiting for my reply, introduced herself first. My name is Song Nian. I'm 5 years old this year, and I'm in the senior class at kindergarten now. This kid is so sweet-tongued. Big brother, you're so handsome. I like you a lot. How did you get to know my aunt? I was silent for a few seconds. Why is Gu Qinghan so quiet? But her niece is such a chatterbox. My name is Fang Yuan. I replied seriously as well. I am 24 this year. Big brother, my aunt is older than you. Song Nian smiled obediently, her small, delicate, jade-like face full of curiosity. So how did you and my aunt meet? Dad says auntie always has a poker face, has no boys around her, and will be single for life. My mom even said that she would take care of auntie in her old age. The kid didn't hesitate to spill all of Gu Qinghan's secrets. I was so embarrassed listening to her. Suddenly, I heard Gu Qinghan's voice. Song Nian, be quiet. I subconsciously tilted my head and accidentally met the gaze of the cold woman beside me. Startled, I averted my gaze and sat up straight. Gu Qinghan pursed her lips. Why is he so scared of me? In the back seat, Song Nian puffed up her cheeks, a little unhappy, but thinking of the new toy she hadn't gotten yet, she didn't dare to act up anymore. The car fell silent again. Over half an hour later, we arrived at the school where Lu Guan worked, a private high school with an elegant environment. I instinctively reached for my phone to call him, only to realize it was still locked. So I looked at Gu Qinghan, my pale face filled with a probing look. Dr. Gu, could I borrow your phone for a moment? I need to make a call to my friend. Gu Qinghan replied coldly and handed me her phone. Her well-defined knuckles and her slender, pale, cold fingers appeared before my eyes. I took it timidly, not daring to look for too long. The call was made, and it connected quickly. Hello? Who is this? Lu Guan, I'm at your school gate. Come out and get your milk tea. I spoke very quickly and hung up as soon as I finished the sentence. Dr. Gu, thank you. I returned the phone to Gu Qinghan. Gu Qinghan's deep, dark eyes looked at my blushing cheeks, and she reached out to take back her phone. You're welcome. I quickly grabbed the milk tea from the back seat, opened the car door, and got out. I didn't wait long at the gate before Lu Guan arrived. His neat, short chestnut-colored hair and his handsome face held a hint of suspicion. Seeing me, the first thing he said was, "Whose phone did you use to call me? And you hung up so quickly. If I hadn't recognized your voice, I would have thought it was a scam call. Gu Qinghan's. Anyway, here's your milk tea." Who? Lu Guan's attention was clearly on my previous sentence. What's the situation? Why are you two together on Valentine's Day? I briefly explained that my phone was locked and that I had coincidentally run into Gu Qinghan. Tisk! Lu Guan listened with amusement. The fate between you two is really something else. With that, he looked at the black BMW parked not far away and raised an eyebrow. Is that Dr. Gus' car? Should I go over and say hello? I quickly shoved the milk tea in my hand into his arms. Give me some cash. I'll take a taxi home myself. Gu Qinghan is with her niece. It's not convenient. No cash? Who carries cash nowadays? Lu Guan rolled his eyes, said in annoyance. Besides, you hung up on me so quickly just now and didn't tell me. Dr. Gus' place and yours are just a street apart. She can just drop you off on her way. With that, he walked past me and headed straight for the black car. If you're too shy, I'll talk to Dr. Gu for you. I was stunned, then reacted with anger, calling out Lu Guan's name. But Lu Guan had already reached the car, and just as he was about to knock on the window in front of him rolled down, revealing Gu Qinghan's elegant face. Dr. Gu. He greeted her, then turned his head to look at me. I winked at him frantically. Don't say it. The next second, I heard Lu Guan say with a smile, I don't have cash for Yuan Yuan to take a taxi home. Since you've already been so kind, you might as well go all the way and help take Feng Yuan home. Gu Qinghan's grip on the steering wheel loosened slightly, but she maintained her cold expression. Okay. Hearing her agree, the corners of Lu Guan's lips curled into a meaningful smile, and he took the 2 cups of milk tea from his arms and shoved them back into my hands. They're still a child. He handed me another cup and then waved. That's the toll fee. Watching Lu Guan's back disappear through the school gate, I had no choice but to carry the 3 cups of milk tea back to the car. Facing Gu Qinghan's calm gaze, I handed over the milk tea in my hand and said, a little embarrassed, I forgot to give you 2 your cups just now. Gu Qinghan's gaze shifted down, and before she could say anything, from the back seat came Song Nian's excited voice. Thank you, big brother. Just as I was about to hand her a cup, I suddenly thought of something and looked towards Gu Qinghan. Can she drink this? Auntie. Song Nian looked at Gu Qinghan with a longing expression. Gu Qinghan took the milk tea from my hand, stuck a straw in 1 cup, and handed it over. No next time. Song Nian broke into a smile, thanked me sweetly, and then hugged the milk tea cup and took a satisfying sip. Dr. Gu? I lowered my eyes to the milk tea in my hand. There were still 2 cups left. Gu Qinghan watched my movement, the corners of her lips turning up in a very slight curve. I'm driving. You can hold it for me for now. Ah, okay. I nodded subconsciously. The next moment, the car's engine started and we quickly drove off. As it approached noon, the traffic on the road gradually became heavier. I held a cup of milk tea in one hand and quietly looked out the window. I don't know when, but the car had reached an intersection, the traffic light turned red, and the car slowly came to a stop. Let's go eat first later. Suddenly, a clear female voice sounded in my ear. I turned my head, my clear, round eyes looking at Gu Qinghan. She was talking to me. Gu Qinghan's gaze fell on the cup of milk tea I was holding, voice clear and magnetic. You treated me to milk tea, so I'll treat you to a meal. After a pause, she added, it's only fair. Hearing the words, it's only fair, I was still a bit dazed. Wasn't the milk tea the toll fee? What do you want to eat? Gu Qinghan tilted her head to look at me and saw my wide-eyed, blank expression. The corners of her lips curved up slightly, then quickly fell. I came back to my senses and was about to speak when a small voice came from the back seat again. Auntie, I want to eat McDonald's. Song Nian held the milk teacup, looking expectantly at Gu Qinghan, who was driving. Gu Qinghan didn't answer. I turned my head to look and saw her looking at me with pleading eyes and couldn't help but soften a little. So I tentatively suggested, I'm fine with anything. How about we eat at McDonald's? I even found an excuse. It's very convenient. After I finished speaking, a long silence fell over the car. I couldn't help but feel a little tense. Then I heard Gu Qinghan finally speak, still with that same elegant demeanor, but her voice carried a hint of gentleness. Okay, I breathed a sigh of relief, a sense of joy rising in my heart, and my lips curved slightly. In the back seat, Song Nian first grinned happily, then puffed out her cheeks aggrievedly. Auntie is so biased, I'm definitely telling Dad when I get home. The car stopped outside a shopping mall. As soon as I got out of the car, I felt a pair of chubby small hands take mine. Just as I looked down, Song Nian was beaming at me. Big brother, let me hold your hand. My eyes crinkled. Okay, Song Nian. Gu Qinghan finished parking the car, her cold gaze falling on the 2 of them holding hands, her eyebrows furrowing imperceptibly. Walk by yourself. The little girl pouted and was about to let go when I suddenly spoke up, defending her. Dr. Gu, don't be so fierce. My voice was very gentle, carrying a hint of helplessness, sounding almost like I was whining. Gu Qinghan's Adams. Apple bobbed slightly. Her gaze lingered on my porcelain white face for a second before she walked ahead. Let's go. Looking at her back, I felt a surge of inexplicable pride. I looked down at the little girl beside me, my tone a little smug. Let's go. Song Nian was led away, following blankly for a moment. She saw Gu Qinghan, who had at some point come to walk beside her, and then she tilted her head to look at me. The feeling of being wronged welled up in her heart again. Auntie is so biased. On the first floor of the shopping mall, there was a very large McDonald's. Before even entering the restaurant, through the transparent glass wall, you could see that it was crowded with customers. I led Song Nian by the hand, walking ahead excitedly. Gu Qinghan saw the crowd inside the restaurant, a hint of annoyance tinging her elegant brows. But when she saw the 2 figures, one big and one small, ahead of her, the tense look on her face softened a little. Dr. Gu, hurry up. I stood at the door and turned back to look at Gu Qinghan, my bright round eyes curving into a soft arc. Seeing my radiant smile, Gu Qinghan unconsciously quickened her pace. As soon as we entered, the staff member at the door saw the 3 of us with our outstanding looks, and thinking we were a family of 3, said with a smile, today is Valentine's Day. The store has a promotion. Couples or spouses who make a purchase can receive a free stuffed animal. With that, he looked at Song Nian, whom I was holding by the hand, and said gently, little one, your dad is so young. Before I could say anything, Song Nian had already started shaking my arms, saying innocently, Daddy, I want that little tiger stuffed animal. The staff member continued with a beaming smile. You 2 can go to the counter to order first, then bring the receipt here to get the toy. Song Nian, let's go, Daddy, let Mommy pay. Hearing her call me daddy and mommy repeatedly, the temperature on my cheeks kept rising, turning a light shade of pink. Let's go! Gukinghan came to my left side, speaking with her usual expression. Get the receipt and then come here to get the toy. Under the staff member's well-meaning gaze, I mechanically walked beside Gu Qinghan and ordered a combo meal. Song Nian excitedly took the receipt and went to get a tiger stuffed animal. As soon as she got it, she immediately shoved the stuffed animal into my hands. Big brother, this is for you. I waved my hands in a bit of a panic. No need, you can have it. The words the staff member said just now were still ringing in my ears. Couples or spouses? Gu Qinghan and I were neither. In the noisy restaurant, as I thought about how Song Nian had just so naturally called me daddy, I couldn't help but blush to the tips of my ears. I stole a glance at Gu Qinghan. Their personalities were truly worlds apart. One was cold and introverted, the other was extroverted and approachable. Sensing my gaze, Gu Qinghan's deep, dark eyes looked towards me, the coldness on her face replaced by gentleness. She gave me a slight smile. What's wrong? I was stunned for a moment, dumbfounded. Why does she seem to be in a rather good mood? This seemed to be the first time I had seen her smile with less coldness and more of a gentle, radiant aura. I was in a daze for a moment and blurted out, Dr. Gu, you should smile more in the future. It's very beautiful. As soon as I finished, Song Nian beside me covered her mouth and giggled, her round eyes staring intently at the two of us. Only then did I realize what I had just said, and my cheeks flushed red. Even my fair neck turned a light pink. Why did I say what was on my mind? But the curve on Gu Qinghan's lips widened a bit more. She first shot a light glance at Song Nian, who was still giggling mischievously. Song Nian immediately straightened her face and then spoke seriously. I really wanted to find a hole to crawl into. Lunch passed by quickly. Gu Qinghan drove me back to Jinggan Garden. Song Nian leaned forward, saying reluctantly, Big brother, it was super fun being with you today. Looking at her, I temporarily forgot about what happened at McDonald's and smiled. I had a lot of fun too. She then said seriously, Today I got to drink milk tea, and I also got to eat McDonald's. Why does it feel like I've corrupted a child? Big brother, can I have your phone number? I have a phone watch, of course. After exchanging contact information, I quickly glanced at the woman beside me and said very quickly, Dr. Gu, thank you for your trouble today. With that, I hurriedly opened the car door and got out. Ever since I told her her smile was beautiful at McDonald's, I haven't dared to look at her. Watching my back disappear, Song Nian retracted her gaze, looked at Gu Qinghan in the front seat, her tone dissatisfied. Auntie, it's because you're too fierce. You scared Big Brother Yuan away. Gu Qinghan, be quiet. Auntie, next time you have a day off, bring me to find Big Brother Yuan again, okay? Her face was full of anticipation. She discovered that as long as Fang Yuan was there, her aunt would be especially unprincipled. Gu Qinghan glanced at her, coldly through the rearview mirror, and started the car. Along with the sound of the engine, a clear voice resounded in the car. In your dreams. The clear sunlight shone through the window into the room, leaving a patch of light on the tiled floor. I was back in my own home. My phone was also unlocked by now. I opened WeChat and looked at the chat window with Gu Qinghan. Our conversation was still at the point where I had last sent her a good morning, and she had replied that she was busy. I stared at the screen blankly for a few seconds, then sent a red envelope, and then sent another message. For the milk tea. I waited for 2 minutes, then exited the interface of the chat with Gu Qinghan. I just discovered that Lu Guan had texted me an hour ago asking if I had gotten home yet. I replied, just got back. Lu Guan must have been on his phone, as he replied immediately. Lu Guan, you're only getting home now? Did you two go for lunch? Lu Guan, hey, what kind of fancy meal did Dr. Gu treat you to? Thinking about how I complimented Gu Qinghan's beautiful smile during lunch, I still felt like there was a lump in my throat. My fingers typed stiffly. McDonald's. 2 seconds later, Lu Guan sent another message. Since Dr. Gu helped you this time, you can seize the opportunity. I asked what opportunity. Lu Guan, she helped you pay for the milk tea, treated you to a meal and drove you home. It's about reciprocity. You can text her, use the excuse of thanking her to ask her out for a meal. Lu Guan patiently guided. Going back and forth like that, won't you get to interact more? I hesitated for a few seconds. Too late? I just texted her. Lu Guan thought I had texted to ask Gu Qinghan out for a meal and was about to praise me for being smart when he saw my next text. I sent her a red envelope to pay her back for the milk tea. Seeing that Lu Guan didn't reply, I put my phone down and stood up to open the living room window. After the Lunar New Year, the temperature gradually started to warm up, but the heating in the complex was still on. The temperature in the morning and evening was just right, but in the afternoon, being indoors, felt a little stuffy. I went back to sit on the sofa and Lu Guan sent a new message. Lu Guan, you're hopeless. Lu Guan, forget the god of marriage. Even if Cupid shot you with an arrow, it would be useless. Through the screen, I could almost feel his helplessness. I replied with an annoyed message, a sticker of a little person poking their fingers together. Then I told him what happened at McDonald's. I wrote, I feel like in front of Gu Qinghan, I always end up doing silly things. Lu Guan, perhaps another word would be more accurate. Lu Guan, head over heels. Night enveloped the city, the thick darkness lit up by the city lights. Gu Qinghan drove Song Nian home. She rang the doorbell. The person who opened the door was a woman in loungewear, her facial features as sharp as a knife's edge, with resolute features and a cold aura. Song Neon immediately rushed forward and hugged the woman's thigh. "Mommy?" Song Neon's cold gaze softened. She bent down and picked Song Neon up and nodded at Gu Qinghan. A deep, warm voice sounded. "Your brother is taking a shower. Come in and sit down first." Gu Qinghan glanced inside the house, still maintaining her cold expression. "No need. I'll be heading back first." Song Yan understood her sister-in-law's personality, so she didn't insist. Just as she was about to carry Song Neon inside, the child in her arms suddenly spoke in a tender voice. "Auntie, don't forget to give the stuffed tiger to brother Yuan Yuan. This afternoon, when you left in a hurry, you forgot to take the stuffed tiger with you." "Mem," Gu Qinghan responded indifferently, then turned and left. Behind her, Song Yan looked at her retreating back. A thoughtful expression flickered across her cold face. Back in the car, Gu Qinghan took out her phone to look at it, only to discover that I had texted her this afternoon. She tapped to open it, her dark eyes deepened. The temperature at night had dropped. The heater was finally doing its job. I was wearing a face mask after my shower, casually tapping on my phone screen, when I happened to see a new message notification. Tapping on it, I discovered it was from Gu Qinghan, sent 1 minute ago. I unknowingly tensed up for a second. Actually, after texting with Lu Guan in the afternoon, I felt a little regretful. Directly sending a red envelope to Gu Qinghan to pay for the milk tea seemed a bit too distant, but the two of us didn't seem to be that close either. I hesitantly tapped on Gu Qinghan's message. "Gu Qinghan, I already drank the milk tea, no need for the money." Seeing that she didn't accept the money, I let out a sigh of relief. Remembering Lu Guan's words, I was a little eager to give it a try. Gu Qinghan really did help me today, paying for the milk tea, paying for lunch, and even drove me home. Treating her to a meal is the right thing to do, isn't it? As I was thinking, another new message appeared from her. "Gu Qinghan, Song Neon told me to give you the stuffed tiger. It's a first meeting gift from her to you." Seeing the word stuffed tiger, I was reminded of what happened at McDonald's this afternoon. The little girl innocently called Gu Qinghan and me mom and dad. The tips of my ears quietly grew hot. Besides, as a first meeting gift, it should have been me giving a gift to the child. Seemingly noticing that I hadn't replied, Gu Qinghan sent another message. "When are you free? I'll give the stuffed toy to you." Seeing this message, the thread in my heart called reason vibrated again. I replied to the message. "Dr. Gu, you helped me today. Can I treat you to a meal?" I gently bit my lower lip and added another sentence. "You can bring the stuffed toy to me then." After sending the message, I stared nervously at my phone screen. Immediately after, I saw Gu Qinghan reply with a single word, "Okay?" A sudden wave of joy washed over me. I curved my lips into a smile. On the other side, in the dim car interior, Gu Qinghan looked at her phone screen, her thin lips curling into a very slight curve. Putting her phone down, she started the car. The black car sped into the night. Before she reached the Taiyan Xincheng district, phone placed on the passenger seat suddenly rang. Gu Qinghan glanced over and connected her Bluetooth earpiece. Gu Qinghan. On the other end of the line, Gu Li couldn't contain his excitement. "Kiki said that you two had lunch with a boy today." Kiki is Song Neon's nickname at home. Gu Qinghan had already guessed that Song Neon would tell Gu Li everything, so she calmly replied. Hearing Gu Qinghan's affirmative answer, Gu Li finally calmed down. "I just came out of the shower, and Song Neon told me all about what happened today." Hearing her say that Gu Qinghan proactively paid for a boy's milk tea, tricked him by saying she had no cash, and even treated him to a meal, I almost thought I heard wrong. Is this something Gu Qinghan would do? Cough. Gu Li let out a light cough to cover it up. "Kiki said you should remember to give him the gift." "I know." Gu Qinghan's voice was indifferent. "I will give it to him." "Okay." Gu Li tried to remain calm. "Don't you forget." Hanging up the phone, the corners of his mouth were about to split to his ears. The iron tree has actually blossomed. I woke up early in the morning, over the moon with joy, just because I actually managed to ask out the goddess Gu Qinghan for dinner tonight. But the next second, the smile on my face froze. A fatal problem appeared before me. Normally, I just wing it. My hairstyling skills are, to put it mildly, atrocious. I had no choice but to grab my tablet and cram fashionable hairstyle tutorial videos. Who would have thought? My brain learned it, but my hands completely refused to cooperate. Just as I was in a complete mess, an unexpected phone call came through. On the other end was my buddy Lu Guan, asking me out for a meal. I immediately felt guilty, stammering as I tried to refuse. But I forgot to turn off the tablet speaker, and my buddy's voice immediately became wary. "Are you watching styling videos? Which girl are you going on a date with tonight? Fang Yuan, are you going behind my back to get a date?" Faced with this barrage of questions, I had no choice but to confess that it was Gu Qinghan. As a result, my buddy immediately went into full drama mode, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Well done, once you've won her over, you just kick your strategist to the curb." I was utterly speechless and only managed to placate him by promising a lavish meal. But after hanging up, a new problem arose. In the afternoon after my nap, I stood in front of my wardrobe, afflicted with indecisiveness. I pulled out 3 outfits in one go, took a picture of a mint green hoodie, and sent it to my buddy for help. "Is this okay for tonight?" Lu Guan replied instantly with 3 question marks, followed by a message. Very good, incredibly youthful and energetic, but no matter how I looked at it, it seemed too childish. So I quickly changed into the second outfit, a beige cashmere sweater paired with dark casual pants. As soon as the picture was sent, I criticized it for being too mature. I still have a backup outfit. I'll change and send you a picture right now. This time Lu Guan completely lost his patience. Fang Yuan, you're just going out for a meal, not competing in a beauty pageant. Finally, after dawdling, by the time I left the house, I still chose a white shirt, feeling that it was both handsome and sharp. By the time I took the subway to the hospital, it was already completely dark. In my hand, I was also carrying a toy car I had prepared for the little girl. I hurriedly pulled out my phone to check. 5:52. Only 8 minutes left. Gu Qinghan was about to get off work. I stood in front of the clinic building, my heart pounding like a drum. At the same time, Gu Qinghan looked at the clock. 6 o'clock sharp. She turned off her computer, took off her white coat, and put on a camel-colored trench coat. The nurses in the hallway immediately started buzzing. Dr. Gu is actually leaving work on time today. Oh my god, she's not wearing that black coat. This camel trench coat looks amazing too. It's just that her aura is too cold. I wonder who can pick this flower on the high mountain. However, the flower on the high mountain they were talking about was currently striding across the lobby. Just as I was wondering whether I should send a text, a clear, cold voice suddenly sounded from behind. Fang Yuan. I whipped my head around and my eyes immediately lit up. Today, Gu Qinghan seemed less, cold and distant, and a bit more gentle. The camel-colored trench coat accentuated her ethereal aura. She was truly a walking fashion pictorial. I stared until my cheeks burned, and my ears felt like they were on fire. I softly called out, Dr. Gu. But the next second, Gu Qinghan walked straight towards me, stopping right in front of me, her delicate eyebrows furrowed tightly, her voice frighteningly serious. Fang Yuan, what's wrong with your eyes? She stared at my reddened eye sockets, her expression changing. Did you get into a fight, or were you crying? I was stunned on the spot. A fight? Crying? I didn't do either of those things. Unexpectedly, Gu Qinghan moved a little closer, her tone incredibly certain. The area around your eyes is all black. The moment she said that, I immediately understood. Both embarrassed and angry, my face flushed red. Dr. Gu, I just stayed up too late last night. As a result, all my romantic fantasies were completely shattered by her. Did you get into a fight? Seeing my embarrassed and angry expression, Gu Qinghan took a step back and apologized sincerely. Sorry. Immediately after, her beautiful face turned serious again as she added, It looks good like this too. Facing this stunningly beautiful face, I couldn't bring myself to be angry, so I decisively handed over the gift in my hand. This is a gift for Song Nian. Unexpectedly, when Gu Qinghan reached out to take it, her fingertips accidentally brushed against mine. My heart suddenly jolted. I quickly pulled my hand back and pretended to be calm, saying, It's only fair to return the favor. After saying this, I seemed to catch a glimpse of the corner of Gu Qinghan's mouth, lifting slightly. Let's go. Gu Qinghan carried the gift and walked one step ahead. The stuffed toy she gave you is in the car. I hurried to follow. Just as we left the hospital gate, cold wind blew past, making me shiver instantly. But at that moment, Gu Qinghan suddenly stopped walking. She turned her head to look at my thin jacket, her brows furrowing slightly. I only heard her clear voice. Go back to the lobby and wait for me first. I'll drive the car to the gate. As soon as she finished speaking, she quickly walked towards the parking lot. I stood there stunned, but a warm current enveloped my heart. Very quickly, a black car parked steadily at the gate. I opened the car door and sat in the passenger seat, and warm air immediately surrounded me. The next second, the car started smoothly, merging into the city's nighttime traffic. Just as the black car merged into the traffic, someone at the hospital gate was watching in a daze. It was none other than my cousin, Xiao Chusheng. He looked completely bewildered, muttering to himself, I think my eyes are playing tricks on me, my cousin. He actually got into Dr. Gus' car. Li Ya happened to pass by and heard this, and his flirtatious eyes immediately narrowed. He walked over with a grin, his tone absolutely certain. Then you must have seen wrong, that iceberg Gu Qinghan? How could there possibly be a man in her car? Xiao Chusheng thought for a moment, and felt that made sense. Seeing that he had successfully fooled him, Li Ya smirked, and turned to make a phone call. At the same time, in the car, the phone rang loudly. I saw the name dancing on the screen, and silently looked away. Unexpectedly, Gu Qinghan glanced at the caller ID and put on her Bluetooth earpiece. As soon as the call connected, Li Ya's teasing voice came through. What are you busy with, Dr. Gu? I just provided some excellent cover for you two. Gu Qinghan was expressionless and uttered only one word. Speak! Li Ya deliberately dragged out his words. Fang Yuan's cousin is an intern in our department. Just now he saw Fang Yuan get into your car with his own eyes. Gu Qinghan's hand on the steering wheel suddenly tightened, but she only said 3 words indifferently. Got it. As soon as she said it, she abruptly hung up the phone. The next second, she turned her head to look at me and spoke in a calm tone. You have a cousin interning at Provincial Hospital number 2? My heart skipped a beat, and a bad feeling immediately rose within me. Sure enough, Gu Qinghan's cold voice sounded again. He saw you get into my car just now. I froze completely. Before I could even react, Gu Qinghan added another sentence. But Li Ya already covered for us. I immediately breathed a sigh of relief, but tried to sound calm. It's okay, it's fine, even if there's a misunderstanding. But when I thought about how during the new year I had insisted I wasn't interested in Dr. Gu, I wished I could disappear on the spot. At this moment, Gu Qinghan suddenly spoke again, her voice as clear as jade. At Kanam University that day, the girl who was with you. Before Gu Qinghan could finish, I blurted out, "She's not my girlfriend, that's my cousin." After I finished speaking, the car fell into a dead silence. Oh no, did I overreact? Just as my toes were about to dig a 3-bedroom apartment out of the floor from embarrassment, Gu Qinghan's low voice slowly sounded out. "It's good that she's not your girlfriend." Boom. My mind went completely blank. Until the car came to a complete stop, I was still in a daze. What on earth did that sentence mean? We're here. Gu Qinghan pulled the handbrake and turned her head to look at me. The light in the car was dim, making her eyes seem even deeper. I finally came back to my senses, looked out the car window, and saw a large, brightly lit shopping mall. Yeah, I immediately unbuckled my seatbelt. Who would have thought that this meal was destined to be extraordinary from the very beginning? People were coming and going in the shopping mall, and there were sweet dating couples everywhere. I had deliberately chosen a seafood restaurant with the highest ratings, kind that cost 500 per person, because I always felt that someone as cold as Gu Qinghan and smoky places like hot pot or barbecue restaurants were a complete mismatch. As a result, I froze the moment we sat down. I actually forgot to ask if she had any dietary restrictions. I hurriedly and carefully asked, "Dr. Gu, can you eat seafood?" "I can." Her voice was clear as she looked up at me. Just as I breathed a sigh of relief, a waiter walked over enthusiastically. He looked us up and down and smiled brightly. "You two can take a look at our restaurant's couple set menu. We're currently having a Valentine's Day promotion, and there's a 12% discount." Boom! My face turned pale with fright. Afraid that Gu Qinghan would misunderstand, I quickly waved my hands dismissively. "We are not a couple. We're not ordering the couple's set." The waiter stood there, stunned. I took the menu and immediately handed it to Gu Qinghan. "Dr. Gu, you order." However, she didn't take it, and the expression on her delicate face immediately turned cold. "You can look at it and order. I don't have any restrictions." Is it my imagination? Why do I feel like she seems unhappy? I ate this meal as if I were sitting on pins and needles. It wasn't until 9 p.m. that the car finally stopped downstairs at my apartment building. I hugged the stuffed tiger I won from a claw machine during dinner, sneaked a glance at her, and prepared to bolt. "Dr. Gu, I'll be heading back first then." Just as my hand touched the car door handle, her cold voice suddenly sounded. "Wait a moment." The next second, she took out a box from the glove compartment and handed it to me. It was another box of chocolates. But the reason she gave made my heart turn cold. A colleague at the hospital gave it as a wedding gift. I don't eat chocolate. I took it in a daze and recognized the brand at a glance. A small box of this costs at least 3 figures. Using such expensive chocolate as wedding candy? Thank you, Dr. Gu. After I said that, I waited for 2 seconds, and seeing that she didn't say anything else, I had to silently open the car door and turn to walk into the apartment complex gate. It wasn't until the elevator doors closed that I finally let out a sigh of relief. I took out my phone to look. My buddy had sent a message an hour ago. "How's your date with the goddess Gu going? Heh? Any new developments?" I stared at the word date, my mind in a mess. My heart was beating uncontrollably fast and my cheeks were burning up. I immediately replied to my friend, "It's not a date, it's just a thank you dinner." But his immediate reply left me speechless. "Not a date? It's just you and Dr. Gu having a private dinner together at night." I was instantly at a loss for words. The elevator doors slowly opened and I lifted my foot to step out. As it turned out, I discovered that I was still on the first floor. Just now my mind was so full of her that I actually forgot to press the floor button. At this very moment, my buddy sent another fatal question.